Good evening, badasses. It's great to have you here on the first ever Thursday evening live call-in badass counseling shit show. Great to have you here. A lot of you have been pushing me lately to have a podcast, come out with more content, and I tell you, as if creating content for 3, 4, fucking 2 posts a day wasn't enough, now you want more. So we're taking this for a spin, and it's great to have you here. I just want to say a few things before we get started this evening. First of all, it really is exciting to have you here. I mean that. It means a lot to me to be able to reach people and help them out. I come from 2 parents. My father just passed away a year ago. 2 parents who spent their whole lives serving other people. And so for me to be able to carry on that legacy in whatever small ways I can is it's an honor. And I've really been touched, and I mean this very, very sincerely. I've been touched over the last several months, 2 months that I've been on TikTok to be able to reach so many people. I've been on Instagram a while, and as you probably know by now, I have books that have been out there and so forth. I've been on podcasts and so forth, but to be able to reach this many people and to hear your comments and to get your feedback when you think I'm fucked in the head and absolutely wrong on things, and to have those conversations back and forth, it means a great deal to me. It really does. And to know that I'm helping in just whatever small way I can is fantastic. So anyway, hold on. All right. Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Sorry. I got to pull off of this for right now, dude. Can I ask you to close that out, please?
Yeah, I can.
Thanks so much, Chief.
Sorry.
We'll talk again soon, though. All right.
Okay.
Thanks. To have you all here. It really is. I want to say a few things just starting out. I had a follower say to me recently, Sven, where the fuck have you been, man? I haven't fucking seen any of your posts. I'm like, what are you fucking kidding me? I'm putting out 3 a day, 2, 3, 4 a day, whatever. And he's like, no, I haven't been getting them. And I'm like, that's weird. Well, just go to my website. There are tons of posts there on this or that, relationships or life or parenting or cheating or what have you. And but what I just read this morning, did not know this, is that the TikTok algorithm doesn't let you get, even if you're following somebody, you won't always see their stuff because they're always infusing new stuff. So if you find that you're not getting my stuff and you wish you were, just go to Badass Counseling on TikTok or over on Instagram. But my stuff always comes out first on TikTok, and there's plenty of content there. If you're not seeing my stuff and you're glad you're not seeing my stuff, then I'm wondering what the fuck you doing here tonight. Seriously though, it's great to have you here. I need to, before we get to the call-ins, I need to say a couple of things. First of all, most importantly, I am not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I am nothing related to the medical profession. If you are in need of psychological or psychiatric help, I'm not the person. Find yourself an able psychologist, and I'm sure they'll help you out of or through whatever you're working on. I'm a soul counselor and pastor. I've spent the better part of the last almost 3 decades in spirituality. I very much believe that down at the root of who we are, in our soul, is where our own voice, the voice of your most authentic self, finds union with the voice of the universe, and that's your authentic self. But over the years, stuff gets piled on top of that shit, crud, rocks, gets piled on top of that, of fears, of pain, of the bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself by people who perhaps even meant well, but it got packed down on top of all of that. And so my work, what Badass Counseling is really about, is that my job is to reach down your fucking throat and pull out all that fucking pain and pull out all those fears, and especially pull out the bullshit beliefs, the negative beliefs, the life-sucking, soul-draining beliefs that you've been taught about yourself that in all likelihood you can't even see, you're not even aware of. It's the virus infecting the operating system that is your being. And when we pull out all that crud and when we begin to allow our most authentic self to come up, that's when life really begins. That's when we begin to be able to draw boundaries. That's when we begin to feel that flow of life and that lightness and that fullness of being, that aliveness. That's my work. And so that just give you a little background on what I'm about. So that's it. As I said, for those of you who want more of what I do, it's on Badass Counseling here on TikTok or over on Instagram or on Facebook. But it's great to have you here. All of that being said, I promised you a live call-in show. I have so many people who have said, God, I'd really love to talk to you, or could you help me iron out this one thing in my life? And so that's what I'm here for. You got a free fucking straight shot to me. There are no producers. There's just you and me on my phone, and then I have a spare phone. And if you'd like, you can call in on this. The number is 347-882-8191. Again, it's 347-882-8191. Feel free to call in, and we'll talk. And the phone lines, or line as it were, is open, and I'd love to hear from you. In the event that no one chooses to call in, which is totally fine, I have a few things that a lot of followers have been asking about that I'd really like to share with you and talk about. And by the way, for those of you who have recently bought my book, since I've been on TikTok, my most recent book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, thanks. And I hope it helps you in your life, and please stay in touch. I've got a call coming in right now, and so let's give this a shot. Okay, hold on. All right, I'm going to put you on speakerphone here. And can you hear me? All right, and it's great to have you here this evening. You say you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
And hold on just one second. I just want to make sure that my listeners can hear. Are you able out there in TikTok land to hear? Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can hear the phone. Okay, great. Thank you.
3, 4. More.
All right. It's great to have you here this evening. Thanks for calling in. Let's just start with your name, or a name you feel comfortable using while we talk. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm Cassandra.
Okay. And your name then?
Cassandra.
Cassandra. Thanks, Cassandra. I've got the phone closer to the screen than to me. So go ahead, Cassandra. What's going on in your life?
Well, I am having troubles with my daughter, my teen, and I know I'm messing up, and I'm trying really hard to figure out where I'm messing up so I can stop messing up. She is as headstrong and strong-willed, and I mean all the unfavorable ways of saying it, stubborn and all that, but I prefer to look at it differently. She's just like me, and we butt heads a lot. She's very independent, and she has very definite ways. She has from day one. She's 12 years old, and wants to engage with the world as if she's, 16, 17 years old already, and, almost ready to fly the nest. And I know part of it is I'm scared to let her, because I'm trying to, of course, save her from making the same stupid mistakes I made. But we often will have this, back and forth, asking a simple thing like, can you do the laundry? Will result in, we'll end up screaming by the time we're done with it, at each other. And that's not the way I wanted to raise my kids, and I don't know where to change, where to even start on that. And so I'm kind of looking for a little insight on that if I could.
Makes total sense, Cassandra. I totally get it. Let me ask you, you had mentioned that, I just want to make sure I hear you correctly, that your daughter's 12 and thinking she's 16 or 17, wanting to engage the world. And if I heard you correctly, you're fearful. Fearful of giving her room, fearful of sort of stepping back a bit, letting go a little bit. And the fear is that she'll make the same mistakes you made. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And just briefly, give me an idea of what you're talking about. What is your greatest fear or greatest fears that you fear happening to her, or you fear her making?
So I am a survivor of abuse. My dad abused and molested me at a very, very young age. And I made some really dumb mistakes starting about the time where she is right now, around boys and taking control of my body back and, all of that stuff. And it put me in some dangerous situations to where I was further victimized by further men in my life. And that's not where she is at all, but honestly, that's my fear for her, is that if I let her have her head, if I let her do all the things that she wants to do, and, that she's going to end up in that same spot. I already managed to screw up and not protect her from her father. And so that's already happened to her, and I am just terrified that it's going to keep perpetuating.
Of course.
Cycle, and I don't want that for her.
Of course.
It's painful, and it's hard to come back from, and she shouldn't have to, and yeah, I don't know.
That's a lot.
That's my ultimate fear.
Of course. Of course it is. And Cassandra, it's hard. It's hard, especially when she's 12. She's not 16. She's not 26. She's 12. And to see that, and when we get older, we see how young 12 is. How vulnerable it is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so which is it that's bothering you more or troubling you more in the day-to-day? Is it that her pushing and wanting more freedom, or is it the day-to-day combats over laundry or groceries or whatever it might be? Which is, first of all, the greater source of pain and suffering each day?
It's kind of both. It's that I see the daily fights and battles over, chores and all that fun stuff is putting us in a position where she's not going to talk to me, confide in me, trust me. She's not going to talk to me if something like what happened, if she gets victimized again. She won't talk to me, or she won't take my advice if I see it leaning that way. I tried to create a relationship with both of my children to where that trust is there and that openness, because I didn't have that growing up, and I see that going away.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you some hard questions, and there's no judgment, Cassandra. I really mean that. There's no judgment. I'm not their parent, and I know you are doing your best. I can hear it in your voice, okay? I know you're doing your best, but I'm going to just ask you some hard questions. I recall, let me preface it by saying this, and it's been in one of my previous TikToks, and that is, my mother said, she told me at a very young age, she said, Sven, children want to be heard, not fixed. And of course that carries through into adulthood too. That so often in life when we're going through the hardest stuff, when we have the most stuff sort of wrestling around inside of us and it's churning and we have so many thoughts in our head, we have no one to just sort of get it out with. And we become very reluctant when we're getting it out if it's met with, well, you should this and you should that. My girlfriend and I, we struggle with something similar, not nearly on the level that you're talking about, but she runs a very successful company, and she's used to giving orders and calling the shots each day. And so when she comes home and we talk, I have to say to her, I need my girlfriend who just listens right now. I don't need to be fixed right now. I need you to just listen. And it's hard, and I don't mean just for her, it's hard for me, it's hard for anyone, to simply be present to the other person. Now, especially when you have a child and you have so much invested and you're so, especially beginning now at age 12, the fears seem to increase, right? Of all the things that could happen. And it's hard to listen without that anxiety rising up in me and almost choking me, because I'm thinking about all the things I want to say, and you should do this, and you should do that, and you should do this. And from when they were born up until now, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, we sort of directed them a lot. We gave them some freedom, but we directed them a lot. But the shift that happens now, Cassandra, and this is one of the hardest parenting shifts there is the shift from being that every day present parent in terms of giving direction and steering. And they're so malleable and they're so open to instruction when they're young. But that shift from that to taking half a step out and half a step out and half a step out each day, that fundamentally giving them their power back is so fucking scary, Cassandra. I totally get what you're saying. And especially in your case, which you so courageously admitted just a couple of minutes ago, that you've had your own stuff happen in your past. So those experiences of your past, which were excruciatingly painful, and I have no doubt still hurt your own soul, they create fear in you before your daughter was even born. So now you've got like your love cup is full of your own stuff. And then you layer on a daughter whom you love very much and are concerned about. And there's almost not enough room for all of her stuff. And it creates so much fear and so much anxiety. And the real challenge is to begin to be able to be present to your daughter. The truth is, and again, I'm not trying to tell you how to parent your daughter. I'm just trying to offer some thoughts and some insights. The truth is the more a child, especially in these years now, the tween years and moving into the teen years, the more they feel like you're telling me what to do, the more they're going to do this. And you're already seeing it. It's like, nope, nope. And they'll open up less and less. And so the very thing you're wanting to facilitate of her feeling like this is an open forum, a non-judgmental forum, that I'll love you no matter what, and that I'm here for you, that gets somewhat lost when there is sort of the fixing or the coaching. Now, I may be overstepping here, so I want to ask you, would it be an accurate assessment of where you're at in your parenting of your daughter, Cassandra, that you do, sort of interject and give and try to fix or coax or say, well, you should or you should. Is that accurate or am I overstepping there?
No, it's pretty accurate. Actually, because I just found you on TikTok today.
Oh.
And it is one of your videos, I don't remember which one, that I was watching one of your videos that made me step back. And so, I don't know, like a month ago yesterday, we had some extra money, and so I took both my girls to the salon and dyed their hair, and it cost a crap ton of money that, we normally wouldn't do. And here it is, like a week and a half later, she wants me to shave her head. I'm like, I just spent a crap ton of money on you. No. And so I have been fighting her on that for, it's almost been 3 weeks. And after watching your video, I'm like, I need to listen to her. And so she came home. I finished the meeting I was in because Zoom life for the win, I guess. And I'm like, give me the clippers and shave your head. So she has a freshly shaven head.
Whoa! Wow, good for her. Bad for you and the money and so forth, but wow. Especially good for you though, Cassandra. That you had the courage and that you were able to take, for that moment, take your ego out of the equation, take your concerns for your own pocketbook and feeling insulted and feeling disrespected, right? Because you spent that money. You were trying to do a loving thing, right?
Yeah.
How did it feel?
Exactly.
Well, let me ask you this, 2 questions, and you can answer whichever one you want first. How did it feel to do that? And then the second, well, I'll wait on the second question. How did it feel to do that, to say that to your daughter? What did that feel like? Be honest. You don't have to lie and make bullshit up. How did it feel to do that? What were the mixed feelings, perhaps?
Okay, so the positive first, it was really great to see the look on her face when I told her I would. Because it was like disbelieving and happy and, oh my God, you're actually going to let me, and, just all those. So it was really good, really, really good to see that. But I still think she made a stupid ass.
Now, wait a minute.
Her whole argument against it was she didn't like in middle school is going to get.
In terms of like dates, you mean? Or in terms of being ridiculed, or what do you mean?
I was bullied a lot in middle school, and so I'm projecting a lot of my crap onto her on that, and I know it. I absolutely know it. So their experiences have not been as bad as mine. I'm just doing, I'm a fixer. I'm a fixer. I want to fix everything. I want to protect everyone. And I can't, and I know it, and that's crap I'm working through with my own counselor. But I just didn't want her to be put into a place where she's going to get bullied, and I'm afraid she honestly is.
Well,
middle schoolers are mean as fuck.
yeah, no, I know. And for all the anti-bullying campaigns, which are great, there's still a lot of that goes on, no doubt about it. And the fear of our child being hurt is hard. And you state, you just stated for me that you're a fixer. And so you can see, as a parent, you can somewhat see the bigger picture that she's so in it and maybe she can't see. And so you answered for me. I asked you, how did it feel? And you said the good part was that smile on her face, that look on her face, and that look of joy and disbelief. And the hard part was the fear of what might happen. So let me ask you this. Why did you do it?
Because it's her hair, it's her head, it's her experience, it's not mine.
And I'll bet that was really hard to let go of, even just for that one moment. I'll bet that was a hard realization or a hard thing to sort of release to her.
Oh yeah, totally.
And the truth is that part of what may be going on in a child that age, and I don't know, I've never met your daughter, speculating just based on patterns that I've seen over the years. Part of it is that the child at that age, when children move into this age now, part of what they're doing is they're finding their own self. They're finding their own identity. They're trying to discover who they really are. But if I, the parent, am still fixing and controlling, and the truth is, children are very easy to control. They're very easy to manipulate. Sometimes it's just a question, are you sure you want to do that? Or it's, well, maybe this. And because we're the parent and we have all the power, most of the power, the child will do that. But what's necessary at this age is precisely what you just did, Cassandra. And I applaud you. I really do, because you didn't just give her power back on one thing. You gave her power on something big. Her body, her hair. In a way that you knew would potentially subject her to ridicule. But isn't it interesting? I'm guessing your daughter's not dumb. No child is. That your child knew the potential social consequence, that this is different from probably most of the kids her grade. And yet she wanted it anyway. She wanted it anyway. It's a child's attempt to begin to differentiate from mom and dad, to begin to say, who am I? And the truth is, what children do is they more and more do that. And it's scary for the parent, and it's hard to let go. And before I go into that one piece, I want to say one other thing, and that is, if a parent has been a fixer or a controller, and I'm not saying you are that, you didn't use the word controller, but if the parent has been very much guiding, directing, focusing, forcing, channeling the child, sometimes the shit that a child wants, and I'm not saying this is the case with you, Cassandra, but sometimes it's just a fuck you, mom. Fuck you. Oh, you want my hair? You don't listen to me, or you're always trying to tell me what to do. Fuck you. Oh, you want me to get my hair pretty? Fuck you. And it may not be the case, Cassandra, it may not be the case in this case, but as a child gets older and the child's strength is increasing, and we as the parent are getting older and our strength is somewhat decreasing, that they begin to expand more and more. And if their life is just about trying to break free of the chains and the shackles of all that's being forced on me, in other words, if they're not being allowed, they'll fight back even harder and they'll do more rebellious shit. I've had clients, and maybe you know people like this, maybe this is part of your life, but where they were so controlled or so kept down and weren't allowed to express, push out who they really are, that they fought harder and they did more and more bigger, uglier, nastier stuff. Or sometimes they just checked out of life. It's like, you don't give a shit who I really am, so fuck it. I don't care either. And then maybe they start hitting the weed, or maybe they start not giving a shit about grades, or they check out of life. And so what you did in that moment, Cassandra, and I know it was hard, I hear it, and especially for a person like yourself, a fixer, what you did was you gave her room. You created some room. In that one act, you stepped back. You gave her back some of her power. And it is scary. And the truth is, we have to do that bit by bit. It's dewiring. When the child was born, we're all born with a computer chip inside, so to speak. Just play along here. The computer chip of who I really am. What my hair color will be, what my eye color will be, the kind of flowers I'll like, the kind of flowers I'll like when I'm 42, the kind of boys or girls I'll like. Am I a walk-in nature person, or am I like being around water person? You know, and all of these things are written on the computer chip of my soul. But when children are young, we sort of have to wire them into our chip and teach them about life, you know. Look both ways before crossing. Always be nice to old people. You know, be gentle with little children. Work hard, play, and have fun. All these different messages of me, the parent. The child is wired into my chip, learning my values or the two of our values if it's a two-parent home. But the challenge comes in those early teen years when we have to begin to de-wire the child from my chip and wire them back into their own chip. To teach them and give them room to begin to hear their own voice. Because the real problem exists, Cassandra, when they get to 20, 25, 30, or much older, and I've seen it much older, where they're still coming back to me, the parent, for their answers. Or what should I do? And sometimes it's because they just can't even think for themselves, or sometimes it's because they fear my retribution or my disappointment. And so what parenting is, it's not just giving our children a safe and fun and a good childhood. It's preparing them for adulthood, preparing them to stand on my own 2 feet, to be able to begin now, but later, hear their own voice and trust their own voice. And so what that means now, Cassandra, the hard part now, is giving them their power bit by bit, not all at once. No child can handle that all at once. And they'll become too big for their britches, okay? And they'll become really problematic. But to begin to give it back more and more, to step out, to give them permission to become themselves. And here's the real shitter of it. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to fail. They're going to fall down. They're going to fuck up. But as long as it's done within a culture, a family, an environment of love and support that doesn't say, oh, I told you so. See, you should have fucking listened to me, you little peckerhead. As long as it's not that, but it's okay. It's like a child. Let's call the child Susie. Susie, it's okay. You made it. You tried something that you really wanted to try, and you took some lumps. Or maybe somebody broke up with you, or maybe that project didn't go so well, but you tried your best, and you put yourself out there. That's what it's about. It's okay for the child to get hurt in small ways when they're young. In fact, we want that. It builds resilience. But the more and more they begin to hear their voice and have an accepting environment of being able to take it for a spin and try it out, and to know that they're still caught and they're still held and they're still loved even when they fall down. What that does is it prepares them bit by bit. The more they begin to try things out. No, I guess I don't want short hair anymore. No, I guess I don't want to date that boy anymore. And to learn these things now when she's 12, 13, 15, 17, so that she's not coming to 19 or 21 and, oh shit, I've never made decisions for myself, and here I am off at college and the world's all open before you and you go a little crazy. Or you go to your first job in San Diego and she's all on her own, and she's now dating for the first time, or her first serious relationship, or getting her heart broken for the first time when she's got no one around her. So the challenge is a couple of things, Cassandra. The challenge is a couple of things. One, as I've mentioned, it's stepping back. It's giving the child a little bit more of their own power to try things and to know that they can make their successes and make their failures within a culture of love, and that you're not going to come down on them and say, see, you should have. See, you should have. And they're going to get their heart broken. Your daughter is going to get hurt in this lifetime. And the thing that she needs most, the thing that she needs most is a parent or two parents, a loving environment that says, it's okay, sweetheart. Tomorrow's a new day. And you followed your heart. And that's what it's about. You followed your heart. And that's what she needs, is your love. And so the real challenge, and here's where the rubber hits the road, Cassandra. The real challenge for you isn't in your parenting. Hear me on this. The challenge, that's where the real work bears fruit. But the real challenge is that you have to go inside of you. You have to begin to take out and look at and name your fears. You have to begin to take out all of your pain, all of the crud that got put in your love cup, all of the pain over the years, all of the hurt, all of the BS beliefs you were taught about yourself, and all of those are in there now. And the more you get those out, well, I had something to pour it in. I'm going to pour these out. The more you get that out of you, the more you have room inside of you, not only to have more love poured inside of you, but you have more room for your daughter's problems. And you don't get stirred up by the anxiety. See, part of the anxiety that's getting to you now, you admitted yourself, is your own past. Your own past is now running your parenting. It's affecting you. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have anxieties, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be concerned about your daughter. That's good. That's great parenting and always being concerned. Nothing wrong with that. But when your own fears of your past and your own pain of your past is largely impacting your parenting, that's a problem. And what's going to happen, I guarantee it, as sure as the sun rises in the east, that the more you try to fix...
Yes, I've already recognized that.
Yeah.
I am simultaneously 40 and 12.
I admire your courage in saying that. And that takes a real sense of self-understanding, that you say you're both 40 and 12. And the more you do that, the more you get your pain and your frustrations out and empty out your love cup, the more room you'll have for her pains, the more room you'll have for what she's struggling with, and it won't create that anxiety up in you. You'll be able to be present. You'll be able to listen without fixing. You'll be able to be present and hold her in your attention. See, part of what people are looking for in not just a parent, but in a therapist, in a pastor, in a friend, stay with me here, is we're looking for a vessel that can contain me. And I don't mean contain me like squeeze me and hold me down. I mean like a big bowl that is bigger than I am. She needs to know that her problems aren't too much for you. She needs to know that you're an adult and that it's going to be okay, and that anything that she's going through, you know how to hold. But if she feels like her problems are too big for you, then that means all of a sudden there's no sense of security. All of a sudden there's agitation because no one can handle my problems. But the more you get your pain and your fears and your bullshit beliefs about yourself out of you, the larger you are to contain and hold her problems. And she knows that it's okay to make mistakes. She knows that she's loved. And furthermore, in those conversations and in her life, she'll know that she's held. And she'll know that you're present without fixing. And let me tell you what happens. Anytime two people are living in community under the same roof, there's going to be the bumping of elbows and the bruising of ribs. I mean, so there's always going to be the everyday piddly shit. But everyday piddly shit becomes bigger when I, the parent, am trying to control or hold you down because of my own fears. And so the hardest thing to do for you right now is to begin to create more room, to begin to give her back her power, and the way that is, and to begin to be present, to hear her rather than fix her. And the way to do that, as you know, and you said you've already begun it, is to begin to get the pain out of yourself, because then it's not, her stuff isn't triggering all of your past stuff. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
I admire you. I admire you, Cassandra. One of the things that I tell people all the time is that the parents that I respect most are the ones that feel some guilt. It's a mark of a good parent because it's someone who's reflecting on their own behavior. In my business, I get so many adults who have been parented by parents who say, no, I didn't do anything wrong. No, fuck, you're the problem, kid. I'm not the problem. No, fuck you. And so the child is left bearing this weight. And so to hear of a parent who says, yeah, I do feel some guilt and I realize I'm screwing up, that's where it starts. To begin to examine what I'm doing, not just in this parenting situation, but in life, and then to look at root causes, and the root causes, Cassandra, are always within you. Always within you. And so I would just implore you to continue down the path that you're going of working on yourself. And I promise you, and giving your daughter more room, giving her more permission, giving her power back bit by bit, giving her power to begin to own her own life. And before you know it, because of your parenting, Cassandra, she'll come to 18, she'll come to 20, she'll come to 25, and she'll be a proud and strong young woman who's used to making her own decision, who trusts her own voice, who's used to making mistakes and doesn't get all worked up of it. She's not afraid to make mistakes. It's like making mistakes is part of life. And my mom taught me that. And my mom, Cassandra, was so good to me, and she loved me. And I know she wanted to fix me at times. I know she wanted to fix me, but she gave me room to begin to discover who I am. And so on one last note, Cassandra, I want to say this. One of the things I used to do, I was brought in a lot to lecture or speak, not lecture, but speak to large groups of college athletes and their parents. And one of the things I used to tell them is that the job of this college that you're attending isn't just to give you an education. The job is really to line up this giant buffet of experiences, from studying organic chemistry to hanging out with your friends on the weekend to working at a homeless shelter to going to chapel to all these different experiences. And your job as a student, as a young person, is to step up to that giant fucking buffet and to quit as many things as possible. It's to taste all of those experiences and to quit the ones that don't feel right. It's just not me. Until you find those 1 or 2 or 3 things that you want to make a meal out of, so to speak. And what that requires from the parent is the room, permission to allow my child to try things, to try on short hair or no hair, to try on what it feels to dress a certain way, or to try on studying something completely different, or to try on sports or drama or what have you, or to try on a new group of friends, to try it on and see how it feels. And then I, as a parent, am always engaged in the conversation of just drawing them out, not trying to fix them or steer them. Where my ego gets in the way, don't embarrass me. Well, that's my ego. That's not what's best for the child. But it's allowing the child to try things and to quit things till they begin to get a feel for their own self, to begin to get a feel for what that computer chip deep inside is speaking. So I just want to say, Cassandra, that I applaud you. And I mean that very, very sincerely. It's hard to let go. But the more you do that, it will yield fruit with your child. And especially the more you get your pain out, you know what you're teaching your daughter? You're teaching your daughter, first of all, that self matters, that pain can be released. You're teaching her over time how to stand up strong, and that life doesn't win, that the soul wins. You're modeling for her what it means to be a grown woman and to not live in fear, but begin to get those fears out and to begin to stand up strong and happy and finally alive. So I applaud you, Cassandra.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I wish you a good night. Do you have any other questions? Otherwise, I'll wish you a good night and hope you'll check back in again soon.
The only other thing I would ask is,
Sure.
How do I deal with their, because they both do it, but absolute mindset. Oh, I didn't get to do this fun thing today, which means I never get to do fun things.
Right.
I don't know how to work around that.
Right. You know, and that absolutizing, you know, I even do that sometimes. Oh, you never listen to me, or I never get to do what I want. And we all do that. And there's that's somewhat normal at that age. I never. And again, part of what it requires from you is in the moment is being able to calmly say, sweetheart, you know you do. And this is just one. There'll be other things, but no is no. And there are times where you're going to say yes to your child and they're going to be ecstatic. But children, you have to stand strong, Cassandra. Children don't get everything they want, and they need to learn that they don't get everything they want, and that's okay. It is okay and necessary, not only for you to say no, but for a child to learn no. That I don't get everything I want. Because a child who gets everything they want turns into a tyrant. A child who gets into everything they want turns into, in relationships, a taker, a narcissist. Right. And so you have, and it's a challenge because we hate it when our kids are pissed at us or when they're mad. And we sort of get beaten down a bit, and it's hard to be strong. But you have to be the parent, Cassandra. You have to know that it is fully okay, and not only okay to say no, but it's good. You are teaching your child the importance of hearing the word no, and as a little tip. And it may fall on deaf ears in the moment with your daughters or with your kids, but it's, I still love you, sweetheart. This isn't about love. This is, no, this isn't right now, or I can't afford it, or there'll be other things, but no to this one. And you have to be okay when they pout and they kick and they scream and they slam doors. I slammed a lot of doors when I was a kid. God damn it, Mom. Well, I couldn't say God damn it. My dad was the pastor, but I'd slam doors and I'd get mad. But yeah, I know. But the parent has to be confident that you're doing your best, and that unfortunately they don't get everything they want. And that's a weird thing, because I've just been telling you about teaching the child, giving the child room. And so there's that, but it's also they don't get everything they want. They need to learn no, and they need to also learn life goes on. And they may pout, they may be mad at you for a week or whatever it is, but life goes on. And one of the great lessons that we all need to learn for adulthood is that even when I don't get everything I want, there's still joy. There's still things that are wonderful about life, and life isn't about getting to have and do every last thing I want. Well, shoot, if I had to wait to be happy until I get every last thing that I want, hell, none of us would be happy until our 50s or our 60s or whatever. Do we have everything we want? The job we want, the spouse we want, the career we want, the money we want, the vacations they want? Whoever has all that at one time before the age of 60, right? So her learning and finding the good and the joy in every day without getting every last thing she wants, that's a great lesson that you are teaching her, but it requires you, Cassandra, to be strong. And you know what? And it goes back to what I was telling you before. The more you get that pain and those fears out of you, the stronger you will be. Because you know, it's like every time something bad happens in our life or something crappy gets told to us, it's like one more rock on our back. And since we're children, and not just a rock this size, but one this size, or some really big ones, in your case of abuse and so forth, every one of those is like a giant rock in our back. And so our whole lives, for a lot of people, they're carrying around this big burlap sack that gets filled with 500-pound bag. It becomes a 500-pound bag full of rocks. And so it's so heavy, and it depresses us, and it sucks the life energy out of us, that you add one more rock of a daughter wanting a new go-kart, or a son wanting a new set of dolls, whatever it is. And then when you say no and then they fight back, it's just one more rock dragging you the fuck down. So the more you get those rocks and that pain and those fears out of you, the more energy you have to be a fully present parent, to be a confident parent who's okay saying no, who's okay with the tantrums. I was the youngest of 6 kids. My parents were almost 40 when I was born. So I had old parents, and that was the single greatest blessing that ever happened to me, or one of them. And they had been through everything, and they parented together. And so when I'd throw tantrums, they'd go back and they'd talk in the bedroom, and they'd say, "Oh, Sven's throwing a tantrum, and we'll ride it out," and so on and so forth. But they came at it with a sense of calm because they'd gotten their own pain out. So I just want to say, Cassandra, that is the key to so many of your problems. You turning the fixing from your daughters onto yourself now. It's time to begin to relieve yourself of all the pain and get the rocks out of the back, and you will become so much more present and a much even better parent than you already are.
Thank
Thank you, Cassandra, for calling in. I mean it, and I applaud you as a parent, and I wish you only the very best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much.
All right. Have a happy night, Cassandra. Before I take the next call, I just want to say, I just want to follow up with one or two things on what Cassandra said, and that is, it's one of the hardest times of parenting. It's those teen years. Those little peckerheads become harder to love. It's like they get a mind of their own fucking, it's like, now I got to deal with this. But that's what you want. We want the children to begin to find their own voice. Otherwise, they come into adulthood, and so many of my clients, and many of you have said so, and friends, they don't have their own voice. And they're still fighting against that external power source. They're still trying to find their own sense of self. And so the more you can let go, bit by bit, and give that child room, give them their power back, the more you are preparing that child for an adulthood of being strong and confident and expressing their real truth and living from their center, from their soul. So I want to thank Cassandra for that. I'm ready for the next call if someone's calling in. And I'm also checking out some of your comments here. It's a little far away, but some of you saying, oh, I wonder what he'd say to my story and so forth. Well, you've got me right now. So if you'd like to call in, I know one or two calls came in while I was talking with Cassandra, and I couldn't take them, but I'm happy to take them now. Hold on, just want to cross that off. I'm taking notes here as we go. I put up a post until the next call comes in. I just want to comment on the post I put up about right before I came on. And feel free to call in for those of you that are watching, 347-882-8191. It should be there at the top of your screen. I don't see it on my screen, but I trust that you see it on your screen. Again, the number is 347-882-8191. The phone line is open. I put up feel free to call in. I'm just going to go forward on this post that I put up shortly before I started this evening. And somebody's saying they don't see the number. Fuck me. Sorry about that. Well, then I'll just do this. Watch this. Hold on. Oh, here comes a call. Good evening. You're on at Badass Counseling. Okay, let me put you on speaker. Hold on one second. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
And your name, or the name I can call you?
Tina?
Tina. Thanks for calling in, Tina. What's going on, Tina?
I have a 15-year-old son who is intellectually disabled. He's got brain damage. And in the past, he's been physically abused by caregivers. His behavior has been routinely punished that he can't control. He has seizures, so he has no control over his body. He's got no control over his bowels. So he has a lifetime of no control over his life. We've been to a lot of doctors and psychologists and therapists, and they just keep saying, you're doing the best you can, and keep throwing meds at it. And he's at the point in his life now where you can just see the shame radiating from him. And he self-mutilates. He tears his toenails out.
Oh, no.
He chews his fingers till they bleed profusely. And I am desperately trying to find a way to help this kid get rid of his shame.
Wow. I just want to ask you some questions to try to understand that a little better, Tina.
Okay.
And so, first of all, how communicative is he?
He's very communicative. If you were to meet him, you'd think, oh, he's a normal kid, but then you'd start talking to him, you're like, okay, something's off. Something's not right.
Okay.
So.
And he's had this his whole life. Is that correct?
Yeah, he had a traumatic birth that damaged him.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, not only for his pain, but also your pain. I can't even imagine how difficult it must be. And for 16 years, that's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so I'm going to ask you an odd question, but it's sincere, all right? And it's just born of natural curiosity.
Okay.
What do you want to do, Tina?
I want to teach him how to love himself.
And what do you believe is the single biggest thing standing in his way of loving himself?
I don't know. I think he just doesn't understand. He doesn't have the means to communicate his frustrations effectively. And he's being put in situations that part of it's ignorance on our part as his parents. We just didn't know any better. And nobody gives you a manual when you have a broken child, you know. And the other part is, you know, the school system and the public community put him in situations that he has no control over. So you're constantly like battling systems that is just going to be his reality, and I'm trying to help him learn to navigate it.
What's been his experience, Tina, when you've brought him to people, just if for no other reason, such as a therapist or a psychologist, to get his frustrations and his anger and his hurt out of him? Have you...
He will literally look down at his fingers, kind of curl up into fetal position and cling to me or cling to his father, and he really won't talk.
Wow. So he's tight as a drum.
Yes, he is, yes.
And so you've had no success at all with any sort of therapy with your son?
No, we've tried multiple times. We've even taken him to the Mayo Clinic to try to see if we could get him help there. But we haven't found the magic combination.
Wow. And okay, so I'm going to ask a different question now, and that is about you.
Okay.
First of all, I want to say that you are a very strong woman, Tina. I don't know that I could do what you do, and I know a whole lot of people would have, or tonight as they hear your story, do have profound respect for you. Profound respect. That is a level and type of struggle that so many of us have no concept of. And what that must be like as a parent, as parents, to do. And it's not just a one-time thing.
No.
It's a day in and a day out.
You mourn if you have a disabled child, you mourn them again and again and again, because as you watch other children reach milestones that your child is not reaching, and it hits you, and then you have to move on. And
your heart aches, I'm sure, every day.
Yes. Yeah, not every day, but a lot. Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
And so there are some good days.
Oh, there's more good than bad, but I worry about him because he is clearly experiencing deep trauma.
Wow. I'm going to be very honest with you on one thing first. Disabled children is not something that is in my field of expertise. It is not something that I have experience with, and that is the people that have that ability are highly specialized and are very, very good at it. That is not one of my fields that I know a lot about. I'm just going to be straight up honest with you, okay? But the thing I want to know is about you. You said it's you and your husband. You're married, is that correct?
My ex-husband.
Ex-husband. And just out of curiosity, are you two parenting, even though you're apart, are you somewhat in sync in your parenting?
We are trying very hard. There's a lot of denial when you have a disabled child, and that's on both our parts. Sometimes he's on the ball about things, sometimes I'm on the ball about things. But we're trying very hard to be in sync with what we do with him.
I can't even imagine. I want to say this, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass, Tina. I mean this very sincerely. I have so many past clients, present clients, friends, family members who they become exes and they can't even get along over themselves, much less be involved in this daily expedition, this daily journey, painful as it is, of working together with a child who has very, very special needs and a child who is beating themselves up. The fact that you say, well, we're doing our best, we don't always succeed. The fact that you're even working together to some degree is it's remarkable. And I mean that very, very sincerely.
Thank you.
No, it's true, because so many exes can't get along, even when you put it in front of them for the best interest of the kids. But then to put a special needs child in there takes them a lot of not just love for the child, but need for the other person, and we need to work together. We have to do this together, and I just profound respect on that, okay?
Thank you.
Now I want to ask, and again, I want to iterate, I know nothing or very little about special needs and parenting special needs or counseling special needs kids. Okay, I need to say that right up front. But
I got it.
okay, but I want to know what is being done inside of you. What you are doing, and not just, gee, what are you doing for yourself? You know, go take a walk someday. I mean, all of those feelings, all of the sheer intensity and volume of the feelings you're feeling. First about the ex and, you know, being divorced, whatever, and then your own things as a woman and your own life and career and so forth, but then also around this beautiful child of yours. What are you doing for all of your pain and everything that's going on inside of you?
That changes a lot.
Tell me.
It depends. So 5 years ago, I got extremely overwhelmed, and I just accepted a job assignment at work where I had to travel a lot, which turned out to be a huge blessing because we got split custody. So they are completely with their dad when we completely with me. I have an older son who's perfectly fine. So my kids had no idea I was gone. They knew I traveled, but they didn't know I was gone because they weren't at my home.
And what was the blessing?
I totally got out of my own environment.
Yep.
You know, and I got back into the world, and I just started, like, digging into my profession. Work became my refuge.
Yeah, your escape. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And your own, and finding your own sense of self again, out of the absorption of it all. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It became my drug of choice, work. And then the other thing I do, and this is going to sound weird, is I use a lot of humor around it. You know, I joke about some of the stuff he's going through, and we joke with him, and he has a great sense of humor. And, you know, when I talk to my dad, or I'll talk to my neighbor, who's fantastic. She's a nurse. She's helped me so many damn times.
Wow, that's
and
great.
I try to joke about it sometimes just to relieve the tension. A lot of walking, a lot of talking to family and friends, and I try to not talk to just one person because people can only handle so much. I try to spread the misery out amongst everybody.
No, and I totally get it. You don't want to be a burden. I get it.
Exactly.
I totally get it. And you know, it's interesting that you bring up the humor, Tina. During the time I was an emergency room chaplain at a level 1 trauma center. And boy, my ministry wasn't just to the patients, but to the nurses and doctors and support staff. And we see that, you know, in the back rooms and so forth, that the only way, at least at work, that they could relieve the tension was through the humor. And you know, sometimes you feel guilty about the humor or whatever, but it is a huge reliever of that stress and sometimes the pain that goes with it. So, I mean, that makes total sense. But I'm asking a different question, Tina. Those things that you're doing are actually great. And when you said, you know, you got out and you're traveling for work and so forth, it's just like, I breathe this sigh of relief. Because when we get into situations that are so enmeshed and we just get absorbed into them, it's like there's no escape and there's no room to breathe. And it can be suffocating. And it doesn't matter how much you love the people or the son or the daughter or the parent or whatever. It can just be suffocating. So the fact that you've done those things to get yourself out, to laugh, to have your walks and your talks and spreading out, all of it, fantastic. Truly, that's smart. It's so smart. However, I'm going to challenge you, Tina, and I'm not in any way judging you whatsoever. I only respect, but challenging you to take it to the next level, not just because it will affect your parenting of your son, but because it'll change you. And residually, you will have more love to give. You'll think clearer. You'll be acting from a sense of centeredness, a sense of self. And that is, I would encourage you, if you're not, you didn't bring up that you're in therapy of any sort. And that's okay, no judgment. But go ahead, please.
I'm finding churches around me, but they've asked us to leave because he had behavior problems. So I gave up on that.
I understand. Have you thought about the idea of seeing a psychologist or a personal therapist for yourself?
I have, and I've got your book, and I've been going through your videos, and I've been going through your exercises sort of as to give myself a good foundation to start working from.
Great. Great. And
Of course, COVID threw everything off.
I
So.
totally understand. Totally understand. And I'm not trying to push you, Tina. I'm not trying to, ram anything down your throat. But I do know that it helps. And part of what you need, the simple fact that you said, well, I have friends that I can talk to, and I sort of spread it around. I have a lot of clients who are that way. In fact, I just had one yesterday morning. And he came to me, and we have our weekly walk and talk. Actually, today's Thursday, so it was Tuesday. We have our weekly walk and talk, and now during COVID, we walk and we do our therapy walking. And he said the same thing. He said, Sven, I have to spread it around. I don't want to burden my friends. And I said to him, but the simple fact that you have so much that you need to spread around says how much pain there is in there. He says, yeah, Sven, and that's why I come to you each week, is to help me get it out. And with him and with other clients, I push them to journal. If you've been reading the book and going into the book, you know how much I encourage people to journal. I have other books that I recommend to help get that pain out. But your single biggest, I don't want to say weapon, but your single biggest tool in your tool belt, Tina, the single biggest thing you can do to have more love and more ideas and more patience with your son in your parenting is for you to get out of you. And I know I sound like a broken record, but to get out of you all of the feelings that are dragging you down, all of the fears that are dragging you down. And I tell you, and I know it may sound like, therapy hokum or BS, but it's so fucking true, Tina, that the more we get my feelings and my pain out, whether it's through journaling or therapy, which I strongly recommend, or some of the books that I recommend in the book that aren't my books, that are very effective, the more you do that, the more you'll be able to be present to your son and find solutions or create solutions that you can't see right now.
Yeah, that's the hard part, and that's what I discovered when I started traveling. Is you have to get yourself out of your own head. And I am hearing you, because a therapist can really get me out of my own head, but your friends just sympathize with you.
Right. And it's nice to have that sympathy, and it is nice to have that support. But you're right. Having someone who can sort of nudge you and coax you and still hold you, but also challenge you, that's just gold. And I would really strongly encourage you, because you've got a whole set of problems with your son, but opportunities that a lot of people don't have. And so to have someone who can talk you through it, perhaps someone who specializes in parents of special needs children, or a person who specializes in working with women, or what have you. But I would really strongly encourage, because then you're getting the personal attention that you need. You're having someone focus strictly on your pain and getting your crud out. And the more you do that, the lighter you'll become, the clearer you'll become. You'll have more peace, and you'll have a greater sense of understanding and a greater sense of power to fix the situation.
Or adapt, because some things just can't be fixed.
Amen. No, and you know what? That's exactly right. But what you can, you nailed it. That you can't fix this, but what you can do is you can fix your approach and your ability to hold that and work with that. So you're not just coping with your problems, but you're solving your own problems, and thereby giving you more energy, more life, and more room to work with this situation that you have for the long term.
Yeah.
Tina, I can't even tell you how much respect I have for you. I really mean that.
Thank you.
You're quite a woman. And to your ex's credit, it sounds like you speak well of him, and the both of you, what you're doing. I know a whole lot of people that hear that story and say, wow, wow, wow. So please know that I send you only love tonight, and peace to you, and encourage you to keep going in the book and go in deep and do the deep stuff. And if you're at a place where you can get a therapist, I strongly encourage you to do so.
Thank you. This has been very eye-opening. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And please keep in touch, and drop a comment or send me a message. Let me know how your work in the book goes. And if there's any, questions I can answer, any way I can help you, please feel free to stay in touch, Tina.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You betcha. Have a pleasant evening.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. What a woman. Wow. And what a ex-husband and ex-wife to be doing that together on their own, but working together. And it's out of my league as far as you heard me say to Tina, as far as parenting special needs children. I have friends and clients who do, and that's a whole, it's whole unique situation. And I have so much respect for Tina and any other parents who are working with similar situations. I've got another call coming in. Let's go ahead and take it. All right. Good evening.
Hi.
Hi. What's your name?
You can call me Gidget.
Bridget?
Gidget.
Gidget. I like that. Let's go with Gidget. What's going on with you this evening, Gidget?
Just to sort of give a little basis, I'm 22. I'm from South Carolina, and I moved to Maryland in hopes I could give my daughter better medical care because she was diagnosed with a birth defect at 15 weeks.
Oh, gosh.
Gestation, and she didn't make it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
7 weeks old.
Oh,
A
gosh.
day short of 7 weeks old, she passed.
I'm so sorry, Gidget.
I really don't know what to do because I was a first-time parent, and it's just a lot of stress. I
Wow.
wasn't really prepared. It was a surprise, but we were so excited to bring her home.
Of course you were.
Unfortunately, couldn't.
Of course you were. And so, Gidget, just so that I can understand more of the story. So you're 22. You're originally from South Carolina, but when you were pregnant, you moved to Maryland, or after the birth?
No, we moved to Maryland because it was a hole in her diaphragm, so that affected her lungs, and she would need care immediately after birth. So we went and had her at Johns Hopkins in Maryland because they were literally one of the best in the entire country.
Of course, it's Johns Hopkins. Right.
Yeah.
And so you went there before your precious daughter was born. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
My boyfriend's family is in Maryland, so we just moved in with them. Had to drop. I literally lived in South Carolina my entire life, so I dropped everything.
Wow. Wow. And so so I've got the story straight, how long ago was it that your daughter passed away?
Today's the 22nd, so a month ago.
Oh,
today.
no. Oh, gosh. Wow. So you're overwhelmed with everything right now.
Yeah, because I was going to be overwhelmed as a new parent, and then it was going to be overwhelming just having a medically fragile baby. And now I'm just overwhelmed because I don't have the baby.
Wow.
And I hear a lot of comments, like, or at least I used to, about, oh, you're going to lactate a lot, because I was planning to breastfeed her. Oh, you're going to lactate, you hear about a baby, you think about a baby, and I just blame myself because I went through a lot of trauma as a kid with my mom being schizophrenic and just using me as an emotional punching bag, really.
Mm-hmm.
And not always, like, directly. It was always indirect, but I could always figure out what she was trying to say.
Oh. And so
it's just hard because my dad's trying to, like, balance having a mentally unstable wife and not a mentally unstable child because his wife can't control herself, basically.
Wow. And so if I'm hearing you correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, I swear to God, Gidget, I just want to understand. Okay, I just want to understand. So you're in Maryland, and your husband's family is there. Is that correct?
Yeah.
But your mother and father and family and all your friends are back in South Carolina. Is that correct?
Right, and because of COVID, literally, I don't know anybody that doesn't live in the house with us.
Of course. That makes it 10 times worse. And your mother has her own mental health issues, and your father is sort of dealing with that and trying to take care of her and so forth. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you have gone through a massive life trauma, the death of a child.
Yeah.
You've gone through a massive life trauma, and I'm sure your husband is a good man. You haven't. What's that?
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm sure he has. You haven't said anything ill of his family, so I'm sure they've been kind to you and done right by you as best they could. But
we have problems like any other family.
Okay, fair enough. But the bottom line is that, I mean, apart from that, and I'm sure they're doing the best, you have no one around you loving you. You have no one around you. I mean, your husband's probably roughly your age, and, he probably feels helpless at times too, and I'm guessing doesn't know what to do to help you on top of his own feelings. And so I'm guessing that, and you set me straight. I don't mind being wrong. I'm genuinely just trying to understand that you don't have anyone there really able to hear your feelings and listen to you and love on you. Is that safe to say?
Absolutely. And like his stepsister, and I'm just going to refer to them as in-laws even though we aren't married, but his sister-in-law, she's an absolute wonderful person.
Beautiful.
But she's got her own traumas and things from her biological father and that side of the family, because it's his stepmom and their kids that live here with us, and I feel bad trying to talk to her as the only other person in the house close to my age that is mentally competent.
Right.
Because there is an adult who's close to my age, but he has Down syndrome, so.
Understandable. And so, in a way, you're a woman on an island. I mean,
Kinda.
Yeah. You have no one to love on you and hold you, and not just hold you physically, but sort of hold your problems and take it from you. Take the pain from you. To a large degree, it sounds like you really don't have anyone who's able to be there for you. I mean, I'm sure everyone's doing their best, but your problems are bigger than any one person can hold, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's just really hard not having a community up here like I did back home, and even though I didn't go out that often, I still had the option.
Yep.
Well, not really because of COVID, but
I understand.
The option, it was going to be there eventually. I
understand. And so I'm going to ask you a few questions, and they may sound like dumb questions, but they're honest questions. I'm genuinely just trying to understand. Is the notion of, and again, it's an honest question, is the notion of going back to South Carolina, even for a period of time, to be surrounded by some of the people and to get some of that love that you need? Not that that's the core problem, but...
we were planning a memorial in Maryland for like his side of the family and things, and I didn't think it was fair to do just one in Maryland, considering he lived in South Carolina too, so a lot of her support, because we had a GoFundMe, so a lot of the people who donated were from South Carolina too.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it would be fair to have a memorial up here and not do one down there that's not a 7-hour drive.
Right. And so you're wanting to do a memorial down there. Am I hearing you correctly?
Right, absolutely. I'm just going to be down there for a visit. I don't think I'll live down there again, because the medical care down there is absolutely horrendous. And I was lucky because I was pregnant. I was able to find better health care that didn't have such a huge copay.
Right. And that's a legitimate concern. Is there still need for medical care for you at this point?
Mental health.
Okay. And are you getting mental health care where you're living now?
I still keep in contact with my psychiatrist and therapist. They don't really talk to each other, but he recommended me to her, so they know of each other. And I'm still talking to them for the moment, but I had to set up a PCP here. I had pretty much abandoned my own medical care, except for gynecology, for so long, because I just was like, I need to get her own care team ready to see her. And then I was in the hospital literally every day to see her.
Wow.
I
I was almost willing to walk from the Ronald McDonald House to her bedside, but it was snowing that day and she wasn't doing absolutely terrible.
Wow.
So the worst part about that whole thing is that she was starting to decline. It wasn't at death's side from what I heard yet. That day I was like, you know what, I've been getting horrible sleep. I'm just going to take a day to myself. And that was the day they called me and said that she was dying and we needed to go be by her side.
And you were able to get there?
Yeah, I had called my partner Alex. He got off work, came over because his job is an hour away from the house, and the house is 2 hours away from Baltimore. But we were staying at our own McDonald house, so he drove up there, and we stayed at the house for a little bit because they were doing a procedure on her, so we wouldn't see her immediately anyway. And I think that was what brought him in, because the procedure, they'd have to travel with her and her equipment, and if her heart failed, they weren't going to do CPR because they felt like it would, because the heart isn't pumping the blood, and there's parts of the brain that don't get blood because this has already happened once before.
Okay.
And if it happened again, she could end up having serious brain damage.
Wow.
So they were like, we're worried that she won't make it out of the procedure, so we just stayed at the room, and then once she was out, we went to go see her. They said we could hold her, and then the nurse was giving conflicting answers, so we went back, ate dinner. As soon as we finished dinner and started to relax, they said, hey, you need to come here. She's dying.
What was it like? What was it like to hear that?
At birth, but Alex had never held her until then.
Wow.
And it wasn't a very long time I held her at birth. I just held her long enough for the doctors to clamp and cut her cord.
And then after you got there, when they told you she was dying, how long was it before she actually passed away, if you don't mind my asking?
We were there about 10 o'clock, and it was 2 hours they gave us with her, like, medicated and everything. They took off some of the life support medication she was on, and they said she's going to be gone in about 10 minutes. She lasted 2 hours. Long enough for his parents to come up and see her, and long enough for even his half-sister to come from Delaware to come see her. It was about 15 minutes after his sister finally met her that she passed.
Wow. Wow.
Through all the medication and everything, I could see her personality was exactly like her dad's.
Oh, really? Not like yours?
No, she was my clone, only on the outside.
So she got your good looks and his charm.
I guess you could say it that way.
Well, if she held on for 2 hours when they had only given her 10 minutes, she was clearly a tough one. Who does she get that one from?
I want to say his side of the family, just because I am half of my mom. And my mom isn't only mentally fragile, but she's also physically fragile. Because both her parents were. My dad's side is pretty tough. Like, there's a member on my dad's side of the family who almost died 7 times.
Wow. That's a tough one.
Oh, yeah. But Alex's grandma had, I think, like 9 heart attacks, and that's only as far as his dad knew her.
Wow.
She could have had heart attacks before that, and he didn't know about them.
So let me ask you this, Gidget, and honest questions, all right? I'm honestly just trying to understand.
There's no stupid questions, especially as many questions as I've been asked. And
I'll bet. It's funny, I had a teacher once who said, Sven, there are no stupid questions, only stupid people, and you're the one. So I'm the one. So thank you for that. But you had mentioned earlier that you felt guilt. Tell me more. What is the single biggest thing?
Put me through.
Say that again.
Oh, because of the trauma my mom put me through, there was like a lot of put on me. And that was what I meant by emotional punching bag. She put a lot of blame on things that literally had nothing to do with me. I was just happened to be in the situation.
Yeah, that's fucked up. No matter how you slice.
The most recent thing I can think of was I wasn't even driving the car. We got in a car accident sitting at a stop sign. It wasn't even our fault. Somebody turned left into us. And anytime I went towards that area or in that intersection, she would get nervous or like blame me for going that way when there literally was no other way to go. Unless we like drive like half a mile down the road.
So you've been eating your mom's shit for many years.
I hate to blame it on that, but at the same time, I don't know how long it's been ingrained in me.
And what, in one sentence or less, what has been ingrained in you? Boil it down to one sentence.
Myself.
For
things that I am involved in, but have no possible implication of being my fault.
And so, am I hearing you correctly then? Earlier, when you were talking about your sweet daughter and the dying and so forth, and you brought up guilt, are you saying that you feel guilt for her death?
Absolutely.
And
because they found the hernia in her diaphragm while I was pregnant with her, and I just kept blaming myself.
And
even while I was pregnant with her, I still blamed myself.
And if you were to tell me, so that I can understand, I've never had anything remotely resembling that experience. If you were to tell me, Gidget, what the one thing is above all else that you believe you did or didn't do that caused your daughter's death, or that you feel guilt about, or that you blame yourself for, what precisely is it, so that I can understand?
Well, just because she was growing inside of me and I was like the incubator, and I felt like because I didn't grow her right, like I kind of felt like the gardener who didn't get any fruit from his crops.
No, and Gidget, I can totally understand what you're saying, and I hear you. I do. And how you must feel guilt. And you've explained to me how you were preconditioned to feel guilt. You felt guilt. Your mom set you up. Maybe your father too, we didn't get into that. But your mom set you up to feel guilty and to feel bad and to constantly criticize yourself and to put yourself down. And so then you walk into this situation where, I got news for you, Gidget, it wasn't your fault. Children have problems. The human body is an organism and things happen. I have to believe your diet was good. You took care of your body and so forth. Is that safe to say?
As much as I could.
That's it. And what more can anyone do? As much as you could. And I'm sure you read, what to expect when you're expecting, and you're doing, following your doctor's orders. Gidget, it wasn't your fault. You were set up to believe that it was your fault because you've been taught your entire life that pretty much everything is fucking your fault. And it isn't. And you've already told me that you've been accused for shit your whole life that you didn't do. That there was no reason for you being blamed. So then you walk into this situation where it is not your fault. And I'm telling you, Gidget, this was not your fault. Period. End of story.
That's literally something Alex tells me every day. And I've never had body issues because I was literally underweight until I got pregnant. And now that I've had that, I literally look at my body in the mirror and I see a monster, I see a failure, and it's so hard because I know it's not the physical, like figure, the stretch marks, any of that. It's the psychological behind it that's making me look at the physical and calling that ugly.
And that makes
and Alex is like, you have nowhere to talk because he's obese and a type 1 diabetic.
And what you are saying about how you view your body as a result of this event, and saying, you never really had body issues before and so forth, but now it's completely different. This is it makes total sense what you're explaining to me, Gidget. It really does. And I have to say that I bleed for you. To look at yourself, you're looking at your body, and correct me on this if I'm wrong. I swear to God, I'm just trying to understand that you look at your own body as the very thing that dealt the death blow to your child. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Right, and it's absolutely wrong. And I'm not saying that scoldingly, but it's not your fault. And I would hope, and I'm going to ask you another question here. I was going to say, I would hope that you are being very deliberate about your therapy. You said with your psychologist, and yes, your psychiatrist too, but is it possible to, now that you're not channeling all of your funds into your daughter's needs, that you can now channel more of your funds and certainly your energy into your needs? Because there's a massive fucking amount of pain inside you, Gidget. I can hear it. It's all over your voice. And not only that, you went through the worst type of trauma, the death of a child. And that means you have to commit now to taking care of yourself. You have to commit now to going in and getting that pain out. Because I'm telling you, Gidget, it won't get smaller by itself.
Yeah, I'm looking into, I do see a PCP on Monday, and I'm thinking about, hopefully he'll be able to recommend me into day therapy. I did something like that in my hometown, Myrtle Beach, and I was thinking, I really enjoyed it. It's just I got pregnant in the middle of that, and then that's when we started finding out these issues with her, and I had to make the move.
And you did. And let me ask you regarding this trip home and, for the memorial, what about the idea, because you have people down there that love you, that know you, that can hold you and you can talk with and so forth, what about the idea, and maybe it's not possible, and I'm not pushing, I'm just offering an idea, what about making that maybe extended? Are you able to with work and so forth? Could you make it a few weeks or something like that, or is that not a possibility?
Since I moved to Maryland.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I've been unemployed since I moved here.
Okay. Is the idea of staying down there among people you know, among your people who know you and love you, is that a possibility, or does that not really appeal to you at all?
It appealed to me because it came to me in the middle of talking about this whole thing, and the only issue is that I don't think I would be able to stay with my parents for a super long time. My parents are still together, unfortunately, and because if I were in a crisis, my dad, he does the best with what he knows how. He's 65. Mental health wasn't a thing when he was growing up.
Right.
So he probably would end up mishandling it, and then my mom being right there as a schizophrenic who denied I ever had issues until she visibly saw me try to kill myself. It was just a whole lot of mishandling, and I don't want to end up being in a crisis down there.
Right.
Without somebody I know can handle it better.
Yeah.
And I would just have to find another place to periodically stay.
Or not only periodically, but perhaps for your own health, safety, needs, are there, two friends that, stay a week here and stay a week there and not stay at home at all, but rather than visiting others but staying at home, what about staying with others and visiting home? Because I really fear, if I'm really honest with you, Gidget, if you've been in a situation where you've been blamed for things and so forth, I really fear you walking into a situation where your mother is going to start saying some very hurtful things that you really don't need to be ingesting in the situation that you're in. Are there other possibilities for places you could stay for, a few days here or a week there or that sort of thing, or is that not a possibility?
Alex will be with me when I'm staying with them.
Okay.
He does work, so he would have to come back up after that weekend. But probably after that, I could see about hopping houses, ? I don't have a car.
I understand.
So.
I understand. And and that's something, let me ask you this. Is there
There's no public transportation in my hometown.
Gotcha. I grew up my earliest years were in a very small town, about 600 people, so I get it. Do you fear to some degree going home and staying in your parents' home, given the situation that you're in?
Kind of, yeah. I know, because if my dad says something wrong, I know he doesn't always mean it. He doesn't always think, like, I'm pretty sure he has that to some point, because I struggle the same way he does with focusing on things. But my mom will say things off the wall, interrupt, completely unexpected, not wanted, and then won't apologize for it, think she's completely in the right. There's no way she could be wrong about this. What do you mean you're hurt from it?
And the damage is done.
Then I was pregnant, being in the South, pregnant out of wedlock. That wasn't exactly the best thing ever, but she recommended I terminate.
Wow. Yeah, and to be very honest with you, Gidget, the idea of going home could very much soothe your soul and be good for your soul and so forth. But if it means, and again, only you can know. And I really strongly encourage you to listen to your own soul, your own intuition, and to just feel for if there might be some red flags. Because going home and being among people who can sort of hold you and hold your inner stuff might be offset by being in a situation that might potentially make your pain even worse. And if there is a chance of your being home making your pain worse, and again, it's your decision, I would recommend against it, just because you are in such a fragile position right now and you need lots of love and you need to be focusing on getting your pain out. You can't be taking on new bullshit from...
Absolutely. She definitely has more self-control around other people, and I think that's because, to a degree, she knows what she does to me, and thinks that because she's done so much shit to me that she can continue to do it because I haven't died from it yet.
Jesus.
But she's never admitted that she's done much wrong except for the comment I just mentioned. And she's in therapy and stuff, but my dad refused to go for so long, and I'm like, Dad, she's manipulating the therapist. She's not telling her everything. You need to go with her and tell her, hey, if you don't tell your therapist, Nancy, everything that's going on, I will go down there myself and tell her everything that's happened in the past, because she has a habit of never telling anyone that she's been diagnosed with schizophrenia.
And the truth is, the bottom line is this, Gidget, is that you may or may not ever be able to change your mother. Okay?
Oh, I've come to accept that.
Okay, right.
She's beyond a point of forgiveness for me. My dad, I've come to forgive for everything because I truly believe he did the best he could with what he knew how.
Understandable. So what that means, Gidget, especially now, you've got two major things that you've actually at least mentioned here. You've got the immediate trauma, the acute pain of having lost your dear daughter. So that's now, that's right now, and that's just like, boom. But it's on top of a lifetime of pain that was causing you to be hurting in your soul already. That was causing you to undermine yourself and maybe hate yourself or not love yourself. And so in all honesty, what you have to be doing right now in your life, and again, it's your life and I respect your autonomy, but kid, I'm telling you, you have to focus on you now and you need to take the time. It's a blessing. I can't speak for your finances, but it's a blessing right now that you're unemployed because you have the opportunity to go into this stuff and you need to. Because this today pain, this last month pain, on top of what you have inside of you, it's that 500-pound bag of rocks. And until you keep doing the work of really getting that pain out of you, it's just going to keep dragging you down. And I'm telling you, it's going to get worse on you. It's going to affect your relationship with your boyfriend. It's going to affect all of your relationships, and your boyfriend slash husband, he needs it too. And whether he's up for, but I'm telling you, this stuff has the power to just destroy stuff. And so my strongest recommendation is that you get, more counseling, and you go into, if you're not a journaler, I recommend journaling. There are books that I recommend. The Artist's Way is one. My book, I have journaling exercises in there.
I have a journal, because usually if you just put like a notebook in front of me, I'm not going to put anything in it. But this one, it says like, what was the weather? What's your goals for today? What did you eat? Like each meal put out and everything.
That's great.
I try to write in that every day. I'm so bad at making habits, so
it's okay.
I try to.
It's okay. And what it is in this case is we also want to go in your journaling, in your questioning, and also in your therapy as well, is you want to be going into, what am I feeling today? When I journal, Gidget, I literally write at the top of the page a question, because my brain responds better to questions. So I'll write a question. I'll just write, what am I feeling today? Or, gosh, I'm feeling pissed off. What is pissing me off today and why? And then I'll just write for my life. And it may not happen the first time or the third time or the fifth time you do the journaling, but the more you're flushing out those feelings. What am I feeling? Why? Well, why did mom piss me off this time? Or why did Jim say that one thing the other day? God, that pissed me off. Or I'm so sad. And maybe it is day after day of how sad you are about the death of your daughter. That's good. That's good to get that pain out. That's good to get those tears out. That's good. If you have to write it 5,000 times till Tuesday, then you do exactly that. And keep getting it out, because the other option is you keep it in. And when we keep it in or try to pretend it's not there and try to just go on with life, that shit eats at us from inside. And
Explode.
What's that? Yeah.
Explode.
That's right. Because, so many people, you nailed it, Gidget. So many people want to avoid that pain, or they take the pain in life. And it's like, do you ever remember, you may not be old enough, but, banks used to have what was called a night depository slot. And you pull this thing, and so the barber, Fred, he could take his receipts and his money from the day, and he could stick it in that slot, and it's safe in the vault, and he's not going to get mugged on the way home. Nobody's going to break into his house and steal his money.
Southern old small towns.
Okay.
We don't update stuff.
All right, fair enough. But
plus my dad's 65.
Okay, so he knows. And so what I'm getting at is, a lot of people do that with their feelings, and when they get hurt, or when they're feeling mad, or when they're feeling sad, if they weren't allowed to have feelings growing up, or it was all about mom's feelings, or all about dad's feelings, they've been putting all their pain into that night depository slot, into that vault, down deep inside, putting it in the vault down deep inside. But you can only do that for so long before, just what you said, it explodes. That vault can't take any more pain, and all of a sudden it starts exploding out onto everyone around us, onto our husband, onto our wife, onto our friends, onto our job. We just become sort of this walking shit show of just shit spilling everywhere. And so you've got a childhood of a lot of that, and now you add on the death of your sweet daughter, and I tell you, young lady, that's a lot. And I just so encourage you. You need to, kiddo. You need to go into that therapy. You need to start getting that out. And the journaling, that should be, and again, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but that needs to be one of, if not your highest priority in life. Because the more you do that, the more you get that pain out, over time, your burden will begin to get lighter and to begin to get lighter. And this won't be something, these two things that weigh you down for the rest of your life. I'm not saying you won't miss your daughter. I'm not saying you won't be sad about your daughter. I'm not saying any of that. But I'm saying...
I've heard the thing where it's like, not move on, but live on.
Yeah. Yeah, but
it's not surviving anymore, it's living again.
Yeah, and that can happen, but you got to get that pain out of you, kiddo. I really mean that. I want to ask you one more thing, it may seem like a dumb question. I had a couple of questions I was writing sort of as you were talking there. And this, considering all that we've talked about right up till now, Gidget, I have one question. This question's going to sound kind of weird, but it's an honest question. All right, it's an honest question. So if you were to take all of it, everything that you've described to me, the death of your daughter and the past and your mother and all of it, but particularly the death of your daughter, in one sentence or less, what is the single most painful part of all of it? for you? And there's no right or wrong answer. What is the single most painful part? The absolute worst, hardest part.
I kind of want to say, as a young kid, like, I don't have this pain quite as much now, but as a young child, wondering, why doesn't Mama love me? Because even though I did lose my daughter, I know I did everything I could to prevent it. I know she knows she's loved. I know she's in good hands. I don't think any baby would go to any afterlife. That's terrible. It's a baby.
Right.
And she did have a twin that she absorbed, so she's with her. And there's going to eventually be peace about that, because death is something everyone deals with. Not always the death of a child, but it's something everyone deals with.
Amen.
But I feel like no child should ever have to wonder and suffer in silence, why don't my parents love me? And I kind of deal with that on a daily, even in this house, because Alex's nephew lives with us because his brother's an opioid addict.
Okay.
And so CPS said either kick him out or we're taking the baby, who is Brendan, who is 5 at the time. And so they had to kick him out and basically disown their own adult son to take care of his, because he was a kid. He didn't know. He's just doing what he knows how.
Right.
And I can see the pain every now and again when we mention his dad or talking about my parents even. And no kid should ever wonder their entire life, why didn't my parents love me? Because death is overcomable for grief, but you can't remake your childhood. That's with you forever.
Right. Yeah.
I know I'll see her again someday. I don't know. I'll never know why my mom treated me the way she did.
Gidget, I think that's a remarkable answer. Because the obvious answer to so many people would be, well, come on, Sven, don't be an idiot. Obviously, the hardest part is that her daughter died in her arms. Obviously. But you had a different explanation. And you had a different answer. And you gave me an honest answer. And you said, you know, Sven, for as painful as it was, as hard as it was to lose my own daughter, and you're just 22, and I don't mean that as a put down. I mean, it's just to lose it as a 22-year-old. Wow.
I mean, Alex is almost 8 years older than me, but it's literally because I'm so traumatized that.
And so what I'm getting at is that for you to say that while for as painful as that was, losing a child, that it was even more painful being a child and growing up in never knowing why your mother doesn't love you. And why doesn't my mother love me? And why doesn't she show me love and give me love? And to live without that love. And of course, naturally, any child is going to say, well, if my mommy doesn't like me, what's wrong with me?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so your whole life, you're wanting to be loved, but you're also beating yourself up and just so needing for that love, that core love that comes in childhood from a mother and a father, or two mothers or two fathers, whatever it is, from the parents.
So parent.
Yeah, and she failed. And you've had to deal with that up till now, and it's so painful that it's even more painful for you than losing your own child. That's how powerful parenting is. That's how powerful lack of parenting is. That's how powerful bad parenting is. And now, I want to say two things here, Gidget. One, What's that?
I said, alrighty.
Alrighty, alrighty. I like the little southern accent there. I'm a northern guy, so that southern accent is real nice. I like that. Two things I want to say. One, I'm going to disagree with you on one thing. I'm going to challenge you to see something differently. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
What you were subjected to in your childhood and what you were taught to believe about yourself and how your mother treated you and didn't show you the love that any child should have in abundance. You should have had an abundance of love being poured into your love cup. That's what parenting is, okay? Well, you didn't get that, but I'm telling you right now, that's not a permanent state. I deal with people literally every single day where this is the problem that they grew up in. Maybe it was a different form. Maybe father was an alcoholic and ruled the roost and nobody got love. Maybe it was...
I absolutely agree that it's possible to change.
Okay.
I just feel like I don't get enough intensive care to fully change.
I get it.
And I start nurturing that bad habit again, and then
Good.
it comes back.
And that's okay, great. Then we're not in disagreement because that can change. And the more you get, it's getting the pain out. Yes, it's getting all the fears that you were taught about life out, but it's really getting down to those core beliefs that got pressed when you were a child. When we're all children, our soul is wet cement. And as we all know, when the road workers are out there laying the new sidewalk in front of the house and they make it all nice and smooth, and then after they leave and put the tape around it, all the little peckerhead kids in the neighborhood, they go out there and they press their foot in it and they walk in it and they put their hand in it and they grab a stick and they write, Tommy is a fink or whatever. But those messages that get pressed into the wet cement of a child's soul harden. And those messages, like you're not wanted, you're no good, you don't matter, only I, the parent, matter, or you're bad, or you're stupid, or you're fat, or you're skinny, or you're lazy, or whatever, they get pressed in there and they harden and they're way down deep inside. And a lot of times we can't even see them, but they become the core beliefs that we then carry into adulthood. And those core beliefs run everything. They're like a virus in a computer. They take over the whole operating system and everything goes haywire. And so what I'm recommending to you, and you already see it because you just said it, so we're in agreement on this, is you got to get down into those. That's what I did in my book, but it sounds like you've got a good therapist, and if you need a new one or a different one or a second one, do it. You have to do this work because otherwise it's going to cripple you. And I've sort of already told you that one, and so I'm not going to hammer that point home. But I really applaud you for doing the work that needs to be done to get the pain out, but also begin to get out those core beliefs that were never true to begin with. I got news for you, Gidget. When you came out of the womb, you were just as sweet and innocent and kind and pure as your beautiful baby girl was. You didn't come out of the womb hating yourself, Gidget. No child comes out of the womb thinking they suck or they don't matter or they're no good. No child. That means somewhere between the womb and right now, you were taught a lie.
I had a lot of friends online say things like, give yourself the love you give Ellie, which is our daughter.
Okay. And that's true. And sometimes, but they're absolutely right. But the problem is that when you've been taught, when those core beliefs get pressed into our souls so firmly, we can be loving on ourselves, but those core beliefs are still there. And that's what needs to come out. We have to go down there and smash that cement and pour new cement. And so I'm really applauding you in the work that you're doing with your therapist, and I would encourage you to continue to do that and get down there and begin to pull more and more of that stuff out. And then I want to say one last thing, Gidget, if I may, and that is you made a comment a few minutes ago. Earlier we had been talking about your feelings of guilt over the death of your daughter and your hatred of your own body. And I hear you on that, and it makes total sense why you would think that. I mean, given where you came from and what you were taught to think about yourself and the guilt any parent might feel over the death of a child. But I want to remind you of something you just said to me literally about 4 minutes ago. You were talking about the pain of your mother versus the pain of losing your daughter, Ellie. And you said, you were talking about how, death, we can sort of overcome death, and death is part of the natural cycle of life. And those weren't your exact words, but roughly. And then you said, and I had to write it down because I wanted to remind you of this. You literally said, I know I did everything I could to prevent it. I know I did everything I could to prevent it. So what you're saying right there is somewhere deep inside you, you know you're not guilty. And I know we want someone to blame, and I know we feel the sadness and the anger when these hard things happen in life, but you just acknowledged for me. You said it. I didn't fish it out of you. You said, I know I did everything I could. So that says it's not your fault. You said it's not your fault. You did everything you could. Your beautiful body that the good Lord gave you didn't kill your baby. You know you did everything you could. And I would encourage you, my friend, I would encourage you to remind yourself of that and to stay firm. Because when you said that, you were so sure and you were so secure. And you're like, death happens and I know I did everything I could. And the next sentence that comes after that is, and so I know it's not my fault. It's not your fault, Gidget. It's not your fault. It's not your body's fault. Your body didn't fail you. It's just unfortunately in life, sometimes horrible things happen. And this time it happened to you. And I am truly, sincerely sorry for this happening. But I love...
feed the right wolf right now because I'm having difficulties.
Say that again?
I gotta feed the right wolf.
Yeah, right. You gotta feed the right wolf. I totally get it. Because you just said it. That down deep in you, you know you did everything you could. You know you're not guilty. And so, but that voice that got implanted in your childhood starts beating you up, starts beating you over the head. And you start taking on the guilt when it wasn't your fault to begin with. So let me just ask you, Gidget, do you have anything else you want to ask me or tell me this evening?
Just one thing. I think you might agree or disagree. I'm just asking about this. Do you think that, you know about infections and antibiotics, if you stop taking the antibiotics halfway through, the infection goes back and stronger than before? Do you think untreated mental health issues are the same way?
That what?
Like if you don't get treatment all the way through, you just stop when you start feeling a little bit better, but your problems can come back bigger and stronger than they originally were.
Okay, I'll be very honest. I am not a mental health professional. I'm a spiritual counselor. So I'm going to say that first off. However, that being said, I'll say simply this. Here's the analogy that I draw. And it may be a bit simplistic. I'm a simple guy. I know that when I used to be an NCAA strength coach and people come in and they work out and they start to see a little bit of results, that's right when a lot of people quit. Whether they're an athlete or they're just going to the gym and, hey, I see my first bicep, or hey, I lost 5 pounds, and then they quit. Well, the first 5 pounds probably wasn't the problem. And that we have to stay with things. Do I believe that it's necessary when we're dealing with our own inner stuff, that it's necessary to stay with it and stay with it? Yeah, I absolutely believe that. And that, remember we were talking about that night depository slot? And that if you don't empty out that vault, then guess what? And you just keep stuffing more pain back into that vault, it's going to explode again. We have to get it all out. Let me ask you, were you referring to yourself or were you referring to your mother in that case?
Myself. My mother's mental health issues are her and my dad's issues.
And so what was the fear driving the question, or what was driving you to ask that particular question? I'm curious.
Just that the idea that I know the places where I'm still a good person. It's just because it's not that I stop, but I start, I guess the most recent analogy would be that I start spacing out my therapy appointments again, and then everything starts getting worse because
I understand.
I'm not getting that reassurance.
Okay. If that's the question you're asking, absolutely. But that it will stay until you get all the pain out of you. It's still in you, kiddo. It just is. But my question is, if you were to be totally honest with me, Gidget, what is it that causes you to sort of space it out or stop going? Is it money issues, Or is it you get bored? Or is it that it gets a little scary, or it gets too hard, gets overwhelming? What's the real answer for why you maybe start strong, but then you start spacing it out? Why do you start spacing it out?
For a hot minute, I didn't have a whole lot of issues that were new that I came to her with. And because of that, I didn't think to say, well, let's work on issues that have been inside of me for God knows how long.
Yeah. And if I'm really honest with you, Gidget, it's kind of not your job to sort of diagnose what my fucking problem is. I mean, that's kind of, a good therapist will be sniffing around and following their own curiosity and looking for that. So, I give yourself a bit of compassion that you didn't do that. I know she's not a terrible therapist. Well, I believe
she's just overwhelmed herself because she's a good therapist, and in the South, she's booked a lot.
I understand, and she may be overwhelmed, but nonetheless, when I'm feeling overwhelmed with my clients, my responsibility is when I'm in that fucking session, you have 2,000% my attention, and if I can't give you my best energy, I don't belong in that fucking session. My being overwhelmed in my life, or, not getting along with, whatever and other stuff in my life, that's not your problem.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And I'm sure she's a brilliant therapist. But nonetheless, you can't be ashamed to stand up and say, this is the shit and I need to go into it. And I'm not trying to be a douchebag when I say this, but to at least help you and get started, I would encourage you to get my latest book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, because that'll take you into those fucking questions. I put it all in there. That's my whole counseling technique in there, so that when you're reading that and listening to the songs that I have in there and the journaling exercises and all that shit, that's going to bring up shit that then you can take to your counselor and you can go into that deeper shit with your fucking therapist. But you got to go into it.
Daily therapy, hopefully here real soon.
That'd be kick-ass. That would be kick-ass. And so let me just ask you then, Gidget, do you have any final questions or thoughts for me?
That was the only thing.
Okay.
And you put your analogy, I didn't think about the gym, but that's probably something more people understand. I just was a very avid student when it came to biology. So.
Right. And I just want to finish by saying, Gidget, that you're a hell of a woman. I tell you that you have had this happen, that you've been able to be strong and make it to 22 with your past. And that's the biggest affliction. As you said, that's your biggest source of pain. You need to go into that. But I have so much respect for you that you've made it this far, and that you still see in the death of your daughter. You still see, I know I did everything I could to prevent it. I love that. I love that. And I respect you for reaching out this evening, and not just this evening, but going and getting yourself the care that you need. The same, like your friend said, the same care that you would give to Ellie, you need to give to yourself now. And you really do. And to get that pain out and to get down to those core beliefs that were bullshit, that were never true, that you were taught about yourself. And I just want you to know I'm sending you big hugs tonight. And I'm sorry for your pain, but it is doable. And it's time to start committing your life now to really taking care of yourself and healing yourself, so that you and that good man that you're with can build a great life together, and so that you can find happiness and peace in your soul.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gidget. I appreciate your calling, and I hope you have a pleasant evening.
You.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Well, guys, what a blessing to have 3 people just open their hearts and share. I've got another call coming in. I'm going to take this one, but I'm going to let them know it's a short one, and because my dogs might need to go out at some point, and I might have to go to the bathroom at some point, so I'm going to take one more. Hi, this is Sven. Oh, hello? Are you there?
Oh, God bless you for answering my call.
I was just mentioning that I can take one more call this evening, but I may have to somewhat limit the time just because it's getting a little late, but I'm happy to talk with you for a bit. What's your name?
Chrissy Leonard.
Yo, you don't have to give me your last name. We'll just go with Chrissy.
Okay.
And tell me what's going on in your life, Chrissy.
Well, first of all, I moved from Texas to Illinois about 6 years ago because my ex-husband was abusive to my special needs child. I made it to Illinois, and first year I was here, I met someone. And the reason I came here because my sister moved here. So I met someone about a year later, 5 years, and we've been together ever since. But here in the last year and a half, 2 years, I've been sad, sick, depressed because I haven't had any help dealing with, my mom and dad passing and stuff like that. Then on September the 15th, 2019, my son, he was in Portland, Oregon, and he got killed in a hit and run, and I couldn't afford to go over there to pick him up, his body up, or them to send it to Illinois, so I had to get him cremated. But after that, I have him. He's in my closet. I can't bring him out. And the last 2 years, I've been trying to deal with it. I'm like, okay, I'm okay. I'm okay with, with all the past problems I had, I said, I'm okay. He's in a better place, And, well, the relationship I'm in has been good, he's taking care of me through stuff like that. Then he takes care of my son more than, he's awesome with him, even though it's not his. But I had COVID, too, dealing with all the, everything going on. I've seen doctors, and I don't go. I just, whatever they give me, I take, medication, Paxil, and medicine at night, and sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I just stay in the bed. I've been dealing with it. I don't do anything for the last 2 years. I'm not interested in anything or anything. Nothing excites me anymore. And here in the last 2 months, my boyfriend, I caught on his phone, he went to sleep. I seen it go off. And he was, I guess, trying to have a relationship with someone else the last month because he said I wasn't giving him no time or no nothing, which I wasn't because, everything hurts. And I don't know how to let it go. And at time, I don't even go to the store. I get him to go to the store. I don't do anything but just stay here with my son and take care of him. And take care of him, and I just stay in the bed, don't go nowhere, don't even go to the grocery store, not even up the street. My sister's moved here for me. I don't see her. My niece has moved here for me. I don't see them.
Wow.
All I do is stay in the house with my son.
Wow.
24 hours a day.
Okay.
I'm trying to help go back to where I was, before my son passed, but it just triggered, it seemed like it triggered everything when it happened. I was all right for the first week. First I was in denial. After denial, it just came to where everything in my heart just started. It seemed like everything just started beating down on me, even though nothing was happening right then. Then I got sick before COVID. I had a flu before the COVID, and I was just everything stacked against me. Then this, and I'm like, what am I to do? He said, I was lonely. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I was just lonely because you wouldn't talk to me or anything. And I don't know if it was my fault. I don't know. I can't even go to therapy. I can't go to the psychiatrist. I have appointments, and I won't even leave to go see them because I don't want to leave the house.
That's a lot of pain.
Yeah, I just wanted to I heard what you were saying to the other lady, you gotta let it go or journal it. When I pick up my journal, I want to write it and I just put it back down.
Yeah, no, I get it. I've been. I can't imagine what it's like to lose a son. How old was your son when he was killed?
He was 25.
He was
He was
25.
on a skateboard, Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And I was sitting there and I seen a number come up on my phone. It was this town. I'm like, what do they want? And they answered. They just said, this is, the county morgue. And I was like, that's not what y'all are called. So I said, no, you're lying. So I just hung up. I didn't know what it was about. I thought it was a joke or something. Then about 15 minutes later, I got a call from Portland. And they told me, I said, how do you know that? And they said, off his driver's license. And I said, no, it can't be. And I was like, yes, ma'am, it's fatal. And we can't find them. And I still haven't found them. And I call them, and they say that, that they haven't found whoever did it yet. He was just riding down it was at nighttime, about 9 o'clock, and he was riding his skateboard because he loves skateboarding. And I just had to, I couldn't afford to go to bring him back, so I had to, send for him. And I haven't even had a memorial or anything for him.
And why is that?
I don't know.
If you were to just take a guess, knowing you could change your mind tomorrow or next week, what might be the reason you haven't had a memorial for him?
Because I don't want to go back to Texas, and I don't want to have a daughter in Texas, and I don't think it'd be fair to have one here without her.
And so let me ask a question. It's an honest question. Why haven't you then taken your son to Texas and buried him there or spread his ashes there and with his sister? What sort of has kept you from doing that?
I don't know. I don't even. It's in a closet in a bag with hearts on it, and my boyfriend's daughter always asks me what it is, and I say, I don't say I said, it's my son, and she said, your son's in there, and I was like, yeah. And then my boyfriend says, oh, don't say that. It's just a bag or something. He says, it's her son, and he's in heaven. And I just barely look at it. Some people wanted some ashes, and the one he passed, they sent me what was on him, and I just put it in his ashes, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to do that. But
hey, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that, Chrissy. Nothing wrong with that.
It's just in the closet. I don't know if that's what's bearing me down every day, or if it's everything. I don't know. I don't know if it's with my mom and my dad passing, and him, and being mistreated by the person I left in Texas that was abusive to my special needs son. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Oh. And I tried therapy, and they can't even help me. I don't know. Why not?
And
they could be mad to send me home. I'm like, they don't work. So they keep saying, try this. I'm not like, I'm tired of being y'all's guinea pig.
Chrissy, you said, and I don't know what it is. What are you referring to? You don't know what is?
Why I can't, function like a normal person.
Chrissy, I got the answer to that one. That's easy.
What?
I'm not trying to be rude, but are you fucking kidding me? Your mother died, your father died, your son was hit by a fucking car. You're away from your daughter. You have a special needs child. You were abused.
23, yeah.
You were abused in a past relationship. I challenge anybody to go through that and not have a shit ton of pain. I couldn't go through that.
Then I found out my boyfriend did that. He was in a Facebook relationship, which you said it's just playing on Facebook. But it said, can we meet up or whatever? And I found it in his phone. I'm like, what now? What now? What did I do? And he said, you can give me no time. You don't have no time or energy for me. You don't do nothing. I said, I have energy, very sparing energy. I don't know why. I take medicine. I try to heal my brain. I try to find medicine. It's called brain support to, try to fix me. I try everything. And I like the journal. I try that. I pray. I believe in God. I pray about it all the time. My grandfather was a pastor. And my mom was, not all there, but but she believed in God. That's one good thing she did teach us, you know? But I'm just stuck. It feels like I'm stuck. I stay in the same spot every day, and I try to change. Like, I'll go downstairs and sit down, or try to do laundry or cook, or I haven't went to the store in like 3 months.
I understand. You have to understand, Chrissy. You have to understand. You have a mountain of pain sitting its fat ass right on your fucking face, and you can't breathe.
I can't. It's like an elephant on my chest, and I can't get up.
Of course. If I could have never gone through what all you've gone through, and to do the abuse and having your son killed, and both your parents dying, and it's a lot. And I just, for the record, there's no excuse for a spouse cheating. There's no excuse, or a boyfriend or a girlfriend. There's no excuse. If you don't want to be with me, you have to leave me. That's fine.
And that's what I did. And now I feel like I told him, I said, I told you I wouldn't deal with anybody doing me like that no more. I'm 45 years old. I said, I shouldn't have to deal with that. I have everything I want. I have money in the bank. I have everything I want. I could ever ask for it, and I'm not happy.
Well,
and you're not bringing me happiness because you just, I mean, he did before, but me, after losing my son, it felt like just everything dropped, everything.
Of course. Of course it did.
This little thing, I said, I had COVID when you did this to me. He said, I wasn't cheating on you. I just met up with her. I didn't do nothing with her.
Please.
Like,
No, that's bullshit. All right, just, dude, that part is bullshit. All right. The bottom line is
with her once, you text her twice. That's, to me, that's the same thing that you was entertaining her,
right.
And I'm sitting there in the bed, not, sick as a dog. Just came from the hospital.
Right. Yeah. And the truth is, you got so much pain inside of you, and my heart just bleeds for you. My heart breaks for you, and I mean that. And I can hear it in your voice, and not only hear it in your voice, you lost your 25-year-old son. I'm sorry, but you have every right to cry for the rest of your life if that's what your soul needs. To lose a child. I have a 26-year-old daughter. I have a 29-year-old son. It would fucking destroy me if anything happened to either of my kids or happened to my daughter-in-law.
That happens to the person that did it,
Yeah.
That's the most hard part, but I have to live with that. I said, I don't know who you are, but I forgive you.
Wow.
I do have a clue who you are. And I forgive you because I have to forgive you for myself to heal inside for my son.
Wow. But the truth is, Chrissy, you also have to keep getting that pain out. You have to.
I don't know how.
Well, no, you do know how. You're doing it right now. You're talking about it. You're crying your eyes out.
I follow you on TikTok because you're not like the other ones. You're not like the other counselors. You talk what's real, and you don't just sit there and just listen. You help. You try to understand what someone's going through.
Yeah.
And I follow and I listen to everything you say on there. I'm like, I wish I could talk to him to understand what's wrong with me. And I know he's not out there.
Right.
A
Psychologist. Right.
A psychologist, but he's a counselor. I need it, and he's somebody I like. He's not just ordinary like all the other ones.
Yep.
And I'm like, I just need to talk to him one time so I can see if he can help me. I went 5 years. I was in college for 5 years, taking psychology, behavioral science, and I left that when he passed away. And I didn't finish my degree, so I don't even want to deal with that. But I can't even figure myself out. And I went through 5 years of school. I can't even figure out what's wrong with me.
Okay. And I understand your frustration. I mean,
yeah.
I hear it. You're so frustrated, not to mention all the pain, but the frustration of feeling like there's a fucking equation that you can't figure out. And you keep using this phrase, though. I got to call you out on this. You keep using this phrase, trying to figure out what's wrong with me. What's wrong with me? When you say that, what do you mean? What's wrong with you?
I want to be better so I can take care of myself, my son better. I want to get up like I used to and clean my house because I have to take care of him. I can't work.
Right.
So I have to take care of him. It's hard. He has Noonan syndrome, which is, he's developmentally delayed. He's 23, but I still have to bathe him, take care of him.
That's a big job.
So he didn't do everything. So he's been mentally about 4, 5.
Wow. Wow.
So,
You're a saint.
Do that, and I barely can do that. You know, I don't have no energy at all. Not one bit.
And I
I
understand.
can sleep for 17 hours a day.
Chrissy, what happens when the soul is being weighed down by so much pain? You may have been heard me talking with the other women earlier, that when bad stuff happens in life, painful stuff, it's like big rocks, not little ones like this, but big rocks get put in this big bag on our back. Anytime painful stuff happens, and then you get a big whopper, as big as it gets when you lose a child, and now that's in that, and eventually it's so heavy from all of the pain of life that we can't even walk anymore. We can't even function anymore. Can't even eat anymore. Can't even barely breathe anymore. And the body shuts down. The soul shuts down.
But I think about my son and my daughter, and that's the only reason I don't do any harm to myself, because I don't want to hurt them.
I understand, and I respect you for that. I respect you for the pain, admitting your pain, and that sometimes you just want to fucking cop out. You want to quit. I get it, but I respect you even more for staying in the fight. Okay, so you said something earlier. You know, you said you wanting to know what's wrong with me, and I'm telling you what's wrong is that there's nothing wrong with you, so to speak. What's wrong is that you have this mountain of pain in your life. You have a mountain of motherfucking pain in your life. And that is weighing you the fuck down. You could sleep 17 hours a day. That's because your soul is fucking tired.
I'm tired.
Exactly. Okay. Well, you said something else. You said, I want to be normal. You know, I want to have my energy back. I want to go to the grocery store. I want to get, have energy so that I can take care of my son. I hear you saying you want to be, more of a girlfriend for your boyfriend, and you want to have better relationship with everyone, and you want your life back, right? Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's what it's going to take. It's going to take one of two things, and it's your choice. Either A, you're going to start taking the small baby steps necessary to start getting that pain out of you. You have so much fucking pain inside of you, and until it is out of you, it is still in you. And that's the shit that's weighing you down. It's all of the pain. It's all of the hurt, the sadness, the anger, the frustration, the betrayal, the everything is weighing you down. And until it's out of you, it's still in you. So either A, your pain is bad enough that you finally are motivated now to do what is necessary to get that pain out of you. Because if you don't, it's only going to get worse. So either A, you take the steps necessary to get that pain out of you, or B, your pain keeps getting worse. See, I always tell my clients, my friends, my kids have heard it a million times, change will not occur until the pain gets bad enough. And so as bad as your fucking life feels right now, it can get worse. I never tempt God. I never tempt the gods. I never say, oh, it couldn't get any worse. Oh, it can always get worse.
Oh, yeah.
And what I'm saying to you is, at some point, and maybe it's today, maybe it's a week from now, maybe it's a month or a year from now, but either you start taking the steps necessary to start getting that pain out, whether you do it on your own or you be deliberate about going to therapy consistently with a therapist who helps you just start getting it all out. Whether you do it on your own or you wait till your pain gets worse until you're finally like, I'm so fucking sick of this. Did you catch my TikTok video that I did on the fuck it point?
You ain't gonna do anything to,
Right, that's it. Yeah, I did it like probably a month ago. It's nighttime. That's it. Yeah, and I basically what happens is when the pain gets so bad in life, I mean, where it finally gets so bad, we have all these fears and anxieties and shit that we have things maybe we want to do, but we're afraid.
OCD, and that's another thing is
I look at my house and I'm like, God, why? Why do I have to have this right now? And my house looks like this. My house don't never look like this. And I do certain things. It's just it's real bad. But it ain't as now up to the point where I just say, F it, let it be like it is.
Right.
But I do want to get it out. I just don't know how. Like you said, a therapist. I tried.
I believe you. I believe that you've tried. And the truth is, if you're really committed to changing your life, if the pain of seeing your house that way and the pain of not being there enough for your son or boyfriend or daughter and if all that pain has finally gotten bad enough where you're just sick of life the way it's been, you'll be ready and you'll commit to doing it, even if it's just baby steps, kid. Even if it's just baby steps. But the pain has got to come out. And let me tell you, the more you do it, you won't feel it right at first, but the more you start doing it, you'll start to have epiphanies. You'll start to see life differently. The more you get the pain out and the more you get the bullshit beliefs out there that you probably think about yourself, the more that comes out of you, you begin to feel a bit lighter and then a little bit lighter. You start to think a little more clearly. You begin to have a little bit more energy, then a little bit more. That's what happens. This isn't just made up bullshit. This isn't just, some fucking shit. Try this. No, this works. I fucking do this shit every day. If it's not clients, it's family, it's friends, whatever. And I'm telling you, this shit works. Find yourself a fucking therapist and commit, because either you do it now or the pain's going to get worse and it's going to push you to the point where it's like, fuck it. And you'll do it. But, and if you gotta wait till then, that's okay. I'm not judging. I'm not judging you. If you got to wait till it gets worse, but I strongly encourage you to get your butt into therapy and just start. And I know it's hard. And I know it's hard to get the energy up.
I had an appointment with the therapist and the psychiatrist, and I missed both of the appointments.
I understand.
And they did assessments. Then they sent all the assessments, and it was major or whatever it's called, severe, major depression and anxiety. But I did all that. Then I just didn't go back. I could probably, if I could do it on Zoom or something, maybe I'll do it. Can I do that?
You have to look and see out there. I know because of COVID now, there are a lot of therapists out there and a lot of people doing work online and phone and Zoom and so forth. But you need to start inquiring and you need to start getting help. And there's a good chance that there are those that are willing to help you online like that. But you got to do it, Chrissy, for your own sake, for your son's sake, for your daughter's sake. And I would encourage you, one last thing. I would encourage you to begin thinking about, if it feels right, to begin thinking about it might be time to give your son the memorial service that you have been sort of saying you kind of want to give him. To bring some sense of peace to your life and closure to your life regarding your son who was killed. That might, and I'm not trying to push you, not trying to tell you, but that might help you sort of, and part of burying anyone or spreading their ashes, it's a final goodbye. I mean, they're always with us and we can always talk to them. And I know people, very good friends, very educated people, and some real simple folk like me who still talk to or communicate with or feel the sibling who has passed away or the child or the parent. So your son never leave you, but there's something to be said for...
I thought if I got rid of his ashes, I might get rid of him. I know his soul's gone, not in the ashes.
Right, but it's also, you're not getting rid of him. You're giving it rest, and you're giving him his ashes a better spot than a closet. And sometimes we got to go with the closet, and I'm not disparaging you at all. But it might bring some peace to your soul to have a place where he can be. And maybe you spread his ashes, because part of what we need as those who have survived is we need a place to go where we feel their presence. And maybe it's the closet for now, and I'm not disparaging you. But, whether it's spreading the ashes, out at the ocean or burying them in the ground, well, now I have a place to go. I can now go to my son's grave, or I can now go to that spot of beach where I know I threw my son's ashes, or whatever. It gives me a place to feel a little bit greater sense of communion with the one that I've lost. And I believe that that would help you somewhat. But you got to listen to your own soul. If it doesn't feel right to you, don't listen to me. The goal is to hear your own soul. And if it feels right to take your son back to Texas, then by God, you need to do it.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know because I have everybody's except for my daughters and my brothers here now, and I didn't know how to do that because I know they're all not gonna.
Well, there's another option. There's another option. I was just the last call that I was on. The young woman is talking about 2 memorial services. My father passed away right at the beginning of COVID. All right, Palm Sunday last year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh no, please, very gracious. He was old and he lived a long and full life. I'm the one who feels bad for your loss. But my point is, as COVID went on, we realized we weren't going to be able to have an in-person funeral during COVID for my father. So last summer, early autumn, we had an online memorial service on Zoom with all of my siblings and all of the nieces and nephews and my mother, who's 93 now. And we decided we were going to have an online memorial service, and then we would have a funeral service, a church service, or another memorial service for other people to attend later after COVID was done. There's nothing wrong, Chrissy, with having 2 memorial services. But if it feels right in your soul, and this is kind of what I heard you saying earlier, if it feels right in your soul for you to take your son home to Texas, and that his sister has every right to be with him at a memorial service, if that feels right to you, young lady, then by God, you need to do it. Because there is a healing that comes from that. And there's a sense of like a bit of peace. Because I hear you saying it doesn't feel right to have him in the closet.
It don't.
It don't. And so...
It's not fair to him.
Amen. Amen. And so I want to encourage you that if that feels right to you, I would encourage you to pull the trigger on that and make that happen. Because I think that'll be good for your soul and his sister too. She has every right, you know? Yeah.
My mom passed before him, and that was her baby. And when she passed, he just lost it.
Oh, of course.
You know, and he just lost it. He was 10,
Oh.
and that was it. That was her life, you know.
Right.
And when she passed, it felt like he lost, you know, more than a grandmother. And
It's beautiful.
you know, it just tore him apart. He just had a lot of mental illnesses that he was dealing with, and I wanted him to, I think, you know, to rejoicing together in heaven. But
Amen.
I want to. They still have some land out. I hate my stepdad. He's a bitch, but it was my mom's land. He stole it from her, but that's where he would always want to be. I don't know, but I know my mom, where she's buried. I don't know what legal parts of that is, but I can look it up and see how about, you know, something of that nature. But he hated it here, so I wouldn't put him here.
Good for you. That's respect and that's love, and you can make it happen. I mean, you know, if that's what feels right, then you need to go with your soul. And I think that just that alone might breathe some life into you. And give you some sense of closure on that, but also, you know, doing right by your son, but also doing right by your daughter. You know?
Yeah, I know she's hurt.
Yeah.
I know.
Of course.
I don't go to Texas very often. You know, it's a 12-hour drive, but
It may be time to make that happen.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe that'll help me. And, are your books? How can I get your books?
Okay, great question. Chrissy, you can go to my website. It's badasscounseling.com.
Okay.
All right, all my books are there. A couple of them are out of print right now. They're being brought back into print. But the one that I think would help you the most right now is this one. There's a Hole in My Love Cup. It's on my website, and it's made for. It takes all of my counseling. I wrote it for people who can't afford me, or people who are just, for whatever reason, you know, they're in a war zone, so I can't counsel them or whatever. All of my counseling is condensed into one book. All of the methods and exercises and the hard questions.
Journal? Is the journal in there?
Yeah, the journaling exercises are in there. Absolutely. Thanks. Good question.
Yes.
And there's the paperback version of it on the website. But then there's also the ebook version if you like have Kindle or something. And I have people asking me all the time, well, do you have an audiobook version? And the truth is, I've had some people telling me that they just downloaded the ebook version and then they had Alexa or Siri read it to them. So that's another option. But we're actually in the studio this month and we're recording it for audiobook. I'm actually doing the...
You're recording, not a voiceover?
No, it's you're stuck with my voice. You can, yeah, you can.
That's good. I'd be like, I don't want to listen to that.
No, man. It's like, no, it'll drive you to start drinking, having to listen to my voice all day, every day.
My dad was an alcoholic.
No, I just meant that I have I just meant I have an annoying voice. You can hear it when I pick my nose too, so that's probably not good on the audiobooks. I hope they'll edit that part out. But, well, Chrissy, it's been a real pleasure talking to you this evening.
Thank you. God bless you for answering my call.
No, thank you for trusting me with your story. And I just have such love and respect for you, Chrissy. And I'm sorry it's been so hard, but there is hope. And you really can.
And one more question.
Oh, please.
If when I get your book, can I do that first? Or do I just need to call back to the place I was getting the fake therapy in?
Say that again?
Fake therapy because it wasn't. Everybody wants immediate results. Like you said about lifting weights in 5 minutes. Like you told that one lady, you lose them 5 pounds. You think you're healthy. You're well to go. And that's how I feel on my medication. I'm like, oh, I'm good to go. I'm good to go. I'm gonna get off this. Get off, and oh my gosh, you're like, why did I get off? I was doing good. That's what it's there for, to make you feel good. Or better.
So what's your question, Chrissy?
Should I just go ahead book my appointment?
Yeah.
Or look at your book first?
No. You should book your appointment. You should book your appointment immediately. Get in with a therapist. Get whatever evaluations. Because the truth is, somebody working with you every day and knowing the specifics of your life and being able to be right there with you, that's hardcore. That's gold. What you can use my book for, as I was mentioning to the previous callers, what you can use my book for is on your own, and it's going to bring up questions, and it's going to challenge you, and it's going to give you journaling exercises, and then that just gives you more meat to chew on and more
double.
And to take exactly double the pleasure. Well, it's an odd type of pleasure, but yeah. But it also gives you stuff to bring up in counseling then new issues that'll come up that you can deal with your therapist and really address with your therapist as well.
Right.
So I say do them simultaneously, but most importantly, get yourself in with a therapist. And once you start getting that pain out, Chrissy, your life is going to change. I know it. I see it every day, and it will. And I want to thank you again for trusting me with your story. And I really applaud your strength. And I believe that there is hope and there's new life ahead for you, Chrissy. I mean that very sincerely. If you do the work, it's ahead and you can have a great life again.
Okay, thank you so much.
You
and
bet.
I'll email you if things, when things start looking up, and maybe 6 months down the road, 3 months, who knows?
Right on.
Thank you so much.
You keep me in touch. I want to hear this turn into a great success story. You just keep doing the work, Chrissy, and I believe in you, all right? Sending you love tonight.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, have a happy night.
You too.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Well, folks, there are more calls coming in. I just can't take them. You probably heard the phone dinging there through Chrissy's call. And it's been 2.5 hours now. And usually my opening sessions with clients are between 3 and 6 hours. And so the long sessions, they're not really, that's nothing new for me. But doing it at 9 o'clock at night, that's a whole, sometimes that's a different animal. Though I have clients, around the country, around the world. And so I get the late night stuff. But you see some of the stuff that people are wrestling with tonight. You see the pain. And in between a couple of calls, I saw 1 or 2 of your comments there, though it's kind of far away from me. I can't really read it without these things. And I've seen some of you say, wow, there's so much pain out there. There really is, man. I mean, come on. Young woman, 22 years old, lost a daughter. This beautiful woman, Chrissy, at the end, lost a son, mother, father, was abused, cheated on, and had COVID. It's just like, wow. And so I guess some of my closing thoughts to you tonight are that I'm thinking about you, and I know a lot of you are carrying a lot of pain inside of you. And I'm a big believer in therapy. I'm a big believer in journaling. For those of you who are a bit further along and have already gotten started, you know, you're not just in the beginning stage. This is another book that I recommend. It's not one of mine. It's the Sedona Method. I don't know if it's still in print, but there are plenty of used copies out there. This is a tool that I use, and it accelerates the releasing process, the getting the pain out that you keep hearing me talk about. It accelerates it. It's thick, but it's not a book you read. It's a book you do. And especially the first half of the book. There's another book. It's another type of technique. They have what's called the releasing technique for getting pain out. There's another one called the accepting technique, and a book by the author Doreen Banaszak. And the book is Excuse Me, Your Life Is Now. And it's based on a previous book, Excuse Me, Your Life Is Waiting, by another woman. That was actually a great book. And then Banaszak's book, she's created a method for accepting. And it's a technique for getting the pain out and getting your feelings out. But I'm a huge believer in the Sedona Method. You've seen me show this one enough times tonight. This is all of my counseling practice collapsed into one. There's a hole in my love cup. And so I want to thank you for tuning in tonight, all you little badasses. I'm so proud of you. For those that have stuck with it through the whole thing, or those of you that have tuned in at the end. I guess now I got to sit on this and decide if I'm going to do this again. It was a trip, and it's great having you here. I want to encourage you, for those of you that liked what you saw tonight, or that maybe it sparked some epiphanies in you, or brought new insights, or maybe some relief. I am at Badass Counseling on TikTok, and there's a ton of videos there. I've only been on TikTok for about 2 months. But I've been trying to churn it out between 1 and 3 or 4 different videos a day. Some of them are series. I've got most of them on Instagram as well, but my Instagram feed is lagging a little bit. I'm a few videos behind. I have some long form videos over there on Instagram, some older ones from a few months back, where I go into things a bit more, but TikTok allows me only 59 seconds. For those of you that have been following, I thank you very much. And I appreciate your comments. I appreciate when you push back, when you think I'm full of shit. It's great. I appreciate it. And I just want to thank you all for coming out tonight, and stay in touch. And from Badass Counseling, have a kick-ass day. I love you. How do I turn this goddamn thing off? Mommy, help!